Welcome to this new transmission through the signal of Inspenet TV. My name is Francesco Solari, and we from the Inspenet platform.com, we want to welcome all of you to this new event that we have named Panel of Discussion Industry 4.0, and we will start to talk about trends and new technologies applied to marine and fluvial terminals. I really want to thank all the community that is logging in and is showing interest in participating in this new event prepared by Inspenet for you, for each of the members of this fabulous community that day to day grows up, and we gather with the desire of learning what's new, what's the progress, what's the investigation and research that our colleagues are creating in different areas. What are we projecting in the progress, and for them to flow, not only in those areas where the main companies are located, but also within the framework of this new global reality. The world has changed. We have integrated ourselves to these digital parts that gathers us, because we are together through these TV screens, through the computers, through tablets and our telephones. And here in Inspenet, we are expecting to be that global network of knowledge and connection, and also share in Inspenet the knowledge of one and transform it in everybody's strength. This discussion panel will count with simultaneous interpretation, and our account at Inspenet and LinkedIn and YouTube. And we also have another channel which is exclusive for transmission in English with simultaneous translation or interpretation for those members of the community who would like to know and be familiar to what we are going to be discussing. Today, I have three extraordinary panelists, and they are here representing different companies, but all this event is due to the support of our sponsors, or gold sponsors. We have ILTA, or the great association, which is an association leader in the storage terminal leader, and its main objective is to promote the operational excellence, safety, and sustainability in this sector. ILTA offers solutions through training program, best practices, safety standards, and favorable policy advocacy, thereby driving efficiency and confidence in the global liquid storage terminal industry global-wide. Thank you, Hilda. We also have as a gold sponsor the Latin American Society of Operators of Marine Terminals, SLOM, and it is an association, international association, non-profit, that seeks integration between the entire service chain of the marine oil industry, companies that operate in terminals, suppliers of goods and services, marine authorities, and port and energy authority too, as well as other related entities, in order to seek the best practices that contribute to safer and more sustainable, cleaner and more efficient operations. We also have the company Miss Marine as a gold sponsor, to whom I really want to thank the support for this event. Miss Marine is a leading global company in the development of products and solutions for marine assurance applied to the marine and energy sectors, committed to providing quality and innovative systems that could help to improve processes and data quality. Miss Marine is specialized in the design, development, and maintenance of state-of-the-art marine assurance systems for the marine and energy sectors. And finally, we have the very valuable support of Beck Engineering. It is a company with a long trajectory of engineering which has grown all around the world. Beck is an industry-leading consulting and engineering firm, and not only in the oil and gas industry, it gets other um, areas like onshore, offshore, midstream, which offers comprehensive solutions in areas such as a process optimization, asset management, structural integrity, and industrial safety. It always gives more than what the clients expect, and that has made Beck one of the world leader engineering companies. Thank you, Beck Engineering. Well, we are about to start our panel, and I really want to share my thankfulness to all of those who make Inspenet possible. It's a community, it's a vibrant community that has given us lots of satisfactions. We have achieved a very significant growth in the different social networks, like our YouTube account in the last 48 hours. With happiness, I share that we have a visualization of our product above 120,000 persons, and in peak hours, 10,000 people visualizing what Inspenet has to provide to the technology community. And we have our LinkedIn and Instagram, which are vibrating too. And finally, our website, www.inspenet.com. Only Inspenet, we have made professionals of people like our speakers, José Ramón Iribarren, General Director of SafePort 21, Gonzalo Mera Truffini, Executive Manager for the America of Miss Marine, and Rafael Rengifo, the General Director of Midstream in Becht, can share their experiences, their knowledge, their professional career, the knowledge for all of those who will be enjoying and attend to this important panel of discussion that Inspenet has prepared with the support of our gold sponsors. Inspenet has planned four panels more. This is our second discussion panel this year. And I really want to thank this group of professionals who will be sharing their knowledge and experience with us today. Therefore, to start with what we are here for, I want to officially introduce Gonzalo, Rafael, and Jose. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you for investing your time in sharing with us your knowledge with our global community. I'd like to start the discussion panel. So we will have to hear our first presentation from José Ramón Iribarren, General Director of Support 21. He is a naval engineer from the Polytechnical University of Madrid. Today is the General Director of Support 21 and since 1999. Previously, he was a project engineer and director of the project of experimentation program and the Center of the Study of Ports and Coasts and SEDEX, the Ministry of Development, for the period of 1986 to 1999. He has specialized in the studies of dynamics of moored ship and the maneuverability of ship in ports, both in mathematical terms and in physical models, as well as studies of agitation due to waves with physical models, marine safety, and risk analysis. In 1997, he received the prize called Modesto Vigueras, awarded by the Technical Association of Ports and Coasts at PIC. And in 1998, he received the Gustavo Willens Award from the International Association of Navigation, PIANC. He's also a member of various PIANC working groups since 1990 to 2022, and of the technical committees of the RON program, which is Recommendation for Marine Works and State Harbor. So he's a first-class reference guest who will share this important presentation that he had called Technical Surveys of Safety and Nautical Risk for the Approval of Terminals. Jose Maria, welcome to Inspenet Television.
Muy bien, pues
Well,
buenas tardes o
good
noches.
afternoon or good night from Spain to everyone.
Quiero agradecer
And
a
of course, I want to thank
Inspenet
Inspenet. The invitation to participate in this panel is a great honor for me
por 21 para mi empresa.
and for my company.
Espero que podamos aportar
I
temas
really
interesantes
hope to provide information, and I'm sure we will all learn from it,
y de las preguntas que recibamos.
from all the presentations and the questions we get from the public here in my company, SafePort 21. I have a small presentation to support all the arguments I have here to present to you. Let me see if I can share my screen. Okay, Jose Maria, can you see your presentation on the screen? We can see it, yes.
Esto que estamos viendo creo que no es correcto.
Yes, but I don't think that's my presentation.
Un momentito.
Please hold on a second.
Algún problemita aquí.
You can also share the presentation and we can present it for you. Okay, here in Bogota, we will help Jose Maria. Remember, we are transmitting live and things like this happen all the time. We are just going to change the file.
Necesito compartir mi.
I need to share my presentation and not the one that was on the screen. That's what's happening. Please, Mr. Support, help us, please. Okay.
Acá está, correcto.
Yes, this is the correct one.
Estudios técnicos de seguridad y riesgos.
Technical surveys of safety and nautical risks for the approval of harbors.
Vamos entonces a.
Well, let's begin with this presentation. In order to transmit the ideas I want to share with this panel, first of all, I would like to introduce what SafePort 21 is. It's a consulting company, engineering for ports. And we are specialized in the harbor engineering, in the interaction between the ships and the port structure and everything related to its structure. It's a company that has been around for 24 years, and we have had more than 1,600 projects all around the world in the 5 continents, approximately in 58 countries, and 75% of our invoicing comes not only from Spain, but also from different parts of the world. We have this company, it's a world-class company. We have more than 24 civil engineers, port engineers, naval engineers. We are a company that gather knowledge to apply it to the quality of the projects. And since it is a company, we are also a center for simulation of marine maneuvers in real time as marine training providers for marines, captain, officers, pilots. We have presented more than 600 trainings, and we have had almost 2,000 Marines, captains, and pilots taking these trainings, working with more than 50 international companies, naval companies. Yes. As I said before, as part of the work proposal for the surveys for the approval of harbors, linked to the concept of Industry 4.0, we have to provide the definition of smart harbors, considering that intelligence is the capacity to understand and get the capacity to solve problems. The persons are the ones intelligent working in this environment of harbors. And in order to apply that intelligence, we need to gather information, accumulate data for the process of 4.0, evaluate them, do the interpretation, get all the benefit as possible, and from there get conclusions that could lead us to decision-making, operational decision
en
making.
particular los objetivos que
And
persigue
also, in
el
particular, the
RAP
objectives
4,
of Puertos
4.0, que
4.0
marcó el Sistema
harbors or
Internacional,
smart
pues va
harbors
en 5
or
líneas
ports of 4.0. We have
la
five
primera, la
guidelines. The
conectividad,
first one is
compartir
connectivity,
información,
share information,
objetivos de seguridad en las
objectives of
operaciones,
safety in
eficiencia en
operations,
procesos,
the
eficiencia en recursos,
efficiency
como
in
sabemos que
processes,
parte
efficiency in
pues,
resources,
del
and of
gas y
course,
de
sustainability.
la energía. Todas
Regarding
estas
all these
herramientas
smart ports,
deben
well,
completar
they
con una
have
triple
to
visión,
complete
descriptiva,
with that triple
predictiva y
vision, descriptive,
prescriptiva.
predictive,
Es decir,
and
es
prescriptive.
factible
We have to be
explicar los
capable to
fenómenos que ocurren en
explain the
el terminal,
phenomena
en el
that are
puerto,
happening in our ports
debidos a la
due to
interacción
the
de los buques
interaction of the
y las
different
instalaciones y la infraestructura,
ships, the
explicar los
operation, its
fenómenos, las reacciones
infrastructure,
causa-efecto del
explain the
fenómeno.
different
En segundo
cause
lugar,
effect
debemos
of the
saber
phenomena,
cómo se
and of
comporta el
course we need
terminal,
to know
debemos tener un
how
sistema predictivo que
this
actúa o
terminal
con
works.
esta
We need
terminal
to
en el
have a
puerto donde
predictive
operamos.
system
Y
to
esto
find
nos va a
out
llevar
how it
a
works
poder
and
definir sistemas de
identify
alerta por efectos
establishing warning
meteorológicos,
system due to
infraestructurales y
infrastructure
climáticos.
or weather
Y la
conditions.
tercera
And
línea
the first
importante
line,
para
which is one of the
este
most
conjunto de
important of
herramientas
all
es de
these
la parte prescriptiva, es
group
decir,
of tools,
ayudar a la
is the
toma de decisiones
prescriptive,
de los
meaning
operadores.
to help to make
Simular
decision
escenarios de
making,
operación,
simulate
valorarlas y dar recomendaciones de
operations,
respuesta más
and
adecuadas
present
a los usuarios.
recommendations for
Para
emergency
todo esto, la industria
response.
4.0, que es
And
el
for this, the
sistema base
Industry
del panel de hoy,
4.0 is the
bueno,
basis
pues
of the
accumula
panel
toda una
today.
serie de
It
tecnologías
accumulates
que
a
se van
whole bunch of
conociendo, se van formando
technologies
parte de nuestra
that are becoming part
conversación
of our
política habitual.
technical common conversation.
Digitalización, el
Topics like
conocimiento, plataformas
digitalization,
de punta,
share data in different
el Internet de las
platforms,
cosas, es decir, la sensorización
uh,
de bajo coste y el poner de manera inmediata
internet
la
with the
información
connection of the
obtenida
simulation
a
of
los
the
consumos
information
financieros,
acquired and
las
place
técnicas de
it
simulación
to the
en diferentes
people around the
procesos que
world,
consolidemos,
simulation of the different
Big Data,
processes,
con ese
big
concepto
data
de
with that
la triple
concept of
V,
the
¿no?
triple
Es decir, gran
UV,
volumen
like
de datos,
large volume of
gran
data,
velocidad de acceso
large
y gran
velocity,
variabilidad.
and large variability of that data.
Por supuesto, la inteligencia
And of
artificial,
course,
los grandes algoritmos
artificial
que nos van a
intelligence, all
permitir
the
procesar un gran
algorithms that
volumen de
will
datos
help
y
us
extraer
to
información
extract
en ese
information
sentido descriptivo,
in a
predictivo,
descriptive,
prediscriptivo que hablaba
predictive, and
anteriormente,
prescriptive.
robotización, automatización
Robotization
y gemelos
and
digitales, es decir,
digital
trabajar
twin, which
con un
is working
paralelo
with a
digital que nos
different
permita
or parallel digital
anticipar
that will allow us to anticipate the
el desarrollo de
behavior
la infraestructura.
of the different infrastructure.
Bueno, aplicaciones, pues van
Applications,
en
well,
dos
basically we
líneas.
have two
Una,
main lines. One, which is
bueno,
the
protección
port
integral de
infrastructure, all the
vulnerabilidades,
structural resistance,
optimizados,
risk,
y la otra
vulnerability,
que vamos a centrar
maintenance.
en esta otra
And
línea, que es
I'm
la
going to
operativa.
focus on this second line,
Todo lo
which
que
is the
sea
operational line. Everything
conocimiento
related to
técnico
the
de la
nautical aspect
infraestructura,
and its
la fase de
interaction
los buques, la estancia, las operaciones
with
de
the
alerta,
infrastructure, access,
el tráfico
stay,
marítimo, la atención de
load,
emergencias, pues
unload,
ahí
and the
podemos
marine
tener que
traffic
aprovechar
and
todas estas
emergency
herramientas.
response, because we have to take advantage of all these operational application.
Vamos a ver. Ahí está. Bueno, todo esto lo que pretende
Okay, now
básicamente
all this
es
has
dotar la
a
gestión de los
specific
encuentros en los
purpose, which
terminales
is to
de herramientas
provide
de decisión
the
objetivas,
managers of the harbor
completas,
and
que
tools of the
contemplen todas las
terminal
variables
to
posibles
take
para poder
decisions in a
maximizar la
safety and
gestión del
efficient
riesgo,
manner,
la seguridad y también
and
responder a
also
situaciones de riesgo.
respond to
Y todo esto, como digo,
situations
aprovechando
of
toda la información
risk,
disponible,
taking advantage
toda
of
la
all the
interpretación
available
y las
information,
recomendaciones que se
all
deriven de esa
the
información
interpretation,
disponible.
and all the data
Esto
that
para lo que hacemos es trabajar
results
con
from that
medidas
information.
objetivas,
We
no
need to work
discrecionales, no de
on
la toda costumbre,
objective
no
criteria, not
del
following like the
conocimiento
thumb
empírico de
idea
una
or just
determinada persona,
empirical
pues muy valiosa, pero que
responses
tiene
from
que
a
completarse con
small group of
informaciones
people.
objetivas.
We need to be more
En este
objective,
sentido,
objective information. In this sense,
bueno, disponemos del estado del arte, nos da un montón de
the
información,
state
sobre
of the
todo
art
en
provides us a lot of
energía operacional.
information
Tenemos
related to
fuentes de
operational
información,
energy. We have
modelos de
different
información,
source of energy,
herramientas
of
predictivas y modelos
information,
predictivos de
different
marea,
predictive
oleaje, viento y
um,
corriente,
models
a la regional o
for
local. En
waves,
España tenemos la suerte de que desde
winds. In Spain,
1980,
we are
hace
lucky
más de
because
40
since
años, pues se ha
1980,
trabajado
more than 40
intensamente
years, we have
desde
been
la
working
comunidad
really hard
en dotarse
in providing
de todas estas
all
herramientas.
these
Y esto
tools.
lo que sí vamos viendo es que a
And
lo largo
what
del
we have
mundo, y
seen is
en
that all around
diferentes
the world,
aspectos, pues se
even from
disponen
the
ya
most remote areas,
no
they
tanto
have
de redes
not
neuronales
many
completas,
as
pero sí
much as
de
all these
capacidad
networks,
de
but they
predicción, de
have
medida, de
capacity to
seguimiento
predict, to
de estas
measure
interacciones.
all these
Pero en este caso,
parameters.
para
However, what we
nuestras
need
terminales
for our
portuarias es transformar
terminals for
esas medidas físicas, altura de vela, velocidad de
transform
viento, nivel de
those
marea,
physical
saben afectar
variables
la
into
ubicación
operational
de
criteria,
diámetro de ola,
under
vácuo,
which
altura de
wave
puerto
height can this
descorrelación
boat
de
access
va a
to the
poder cargar
port,
o descargar
or
barcos de
how, depending on
con
what, can
venta
this
de barcos de
oil
pasajeros,
carrier can
que sean criterios
uh,
muy específicos
discharge oil. They have
ligados a
to
la
be very
ubicación concreta que
specific
queremos estar viendo.
criteria that are
Además,
linked to
contemplando
our
tanto los
specific
criterios operativos como los
activities,
criterios de seguridad y
considering the
control
safety,
de riesgo.
operational, and
Todo ello
risk
con gran
criteria.
especificidad,
And I say
con
this
gestión en tiempo real
with
y
real-time
la capacidad
management,
operativa
with
tanto
predictive
para poder
capacity
respuesta a
and
emergencias
response, emergency
inesperadas
response
en un
capacity for
sentido
situations that
puramente de
have been
calidad
previously
operativa.
defined.
En este sentido, bueno,
In
pues en
this
SafePort Empresa llevamos
sense,
trabajando
we
desde
have
hace
been
años en lo que
working
llamamos el
in,
concepto
in
SafePort,
the SafePort
que es esa
here.
herramienta
It's
inteligente que
that
nos va a ayudar
smart
a la
tool
gestión
that it will
operativa
help us
de las
to the
operaciones náuticas,
management
viéndolo
of
de
the
una manera
nautical
global.
operations
Todo el
here in
proceso
Seaport
de
21.
estudio de viabilidad
All the
inicial
process
de una
of
determinada
initial
playa o
availability
puerto,
for the
sea de
harbors,
pasajeros,
either if the
de
boat is
mercancías
of
peligrosas,
passengers, of
gas,
hazardous
productos,
material,
carbón,
gas, or
cualquier
any other
aplicable a
product,
cualquier
because it is
puerto.
has to be
Empezamos por lo del
applicable for
análisis
all
de
of them.
viabilidad,
We
pasamos
start
a
with the
hacer un diseño
availability
detallado. Con ese diseño detallado
analysis,
vamos a
and then we
poder
do
mejorar
a detailed analysis,
los niveles
detailed
de
design,
operatividad
considering the level of
las ventanas de
operations,
runtime
the
de
runtime
nuestra terminal
windows
y
in our
trabajar
terminal, and to be
sobre ese entorno
familiar to
optimizado
work with that
y
aspect,
complementado con
and
el aspecto de
also
la
complemented
seguridad y
with the
el
topic
management
of
del
the
riesgo.
safety and the risk
En principio,
analysis.
eso nos va a llevar
In
a
that
las
sense,
fases de
that will
aprobación
lead
del
us to the
proyecto de
approval
certificación, en este caso,
stages
por
of the
sociedades de
project
clasificación,
by
sociedades
the Society of
marítimas, militares,
Classification,
profesionales.
marine
Y luego todo esto tiene que acabar en un proceso
companies,
de
and all this ends up in
capacitación de
a
las personas
training
para la
program for the
capacidad
people who
de
will be
terminar, teniendo
operating
en
that
cuenta
terminal,
conocer
and they need
todo el
to
proceso
know
de
and be
diseño
familiar with all the design
operativo
process and
posterior.
all the operational
¿En qué aspectos
designs. In
concretos
which concrete
podemos estar
aspects can
trabajando? Bueno,
we
pues
work with?
desde,
Well,
por
for
ejemplo, las
example,
ventanas
all
de
the
acceso a puertos.
windows to access to harbors. Let me just go back a little bit here.
Lo primero sería
First of all,
aspectos
we can
concretos,
have
temas de
aspects such
capacidad
as
disponible en canales de
depth
navegación,
available
en
in
puertos,
navigation
entrada por el puerto, cuando
channels,
hay problemas de
and
movimentaciones por marea,
we have to
gran
see
cambio de buques,
the different
utilizar herramientas de simulación de
simulation
movimiento,
tools,
hacer un análisis extremadamente detallado de estos
a
temas,
very
fijar
specific
criterios de riesgo y
analysis,
dar normas de diseño y
design
normas de operación
regulations, operational
muy
regulations.
eficaces y muy detalladas. Un segundo
As
aspecto
a
a cubrir
second aspect to cover
sí, sería,
would
digamos,
be,
la
for
condición del buque
instance,
amarrado.
the
Cuando estamos
condition
en
of
medio
the boat that is
y
moored,
tenemos que hacer las operaciones de carga y
because we
descarga,
have to do the
transfiriendo
operations for
la
transferring the
navegación.
load
Y
from
vamos a
the
definir
boat to the
modelos
land, and
matemáticos,
then we have to
simulación,
combine
medidas de campo,
uh,
sistemas de medida
different
y elaborar a partir de
measuring
toda esta
systems,
información
and
sistemas de predicción
starting with
basados
these
en algoritmos físicos,
systems,
algoritmos
some physical
de
algorithm and some
inteligencia
other
artificial que se
based
han
on
aplicado en diferentes
artificial
puertos en
um,
varios países, ¿no?
intelligence, which we have
Otro
applied in different
posible
countries.
campo
Another
de
possible
aplicación
field
para
of
esta
application
información.
of all this technology could be,
Bueno, pues
well, this.
digamos tener
For example,
previstos
to
planes de respuesta
foresee in
ante eventos
different
extremos,
emergency response
haber
plans
hecho un
and
análisis
to
previo de lo
have
posible en
performed
caso de emergencia con su nivel
a
de
previous analysis of
probabilidad de
all the
ocurrencia
possibilities and
y
probability of occurrence,
estudiar
and
diferentes
also
accidentes con
study
diferentes
different
buques,
accidents,
diferentes
different
condiciones meteorológicas y a
boats,
partir de ahí
and
planificar
different
una posible
meteorological
mitigación
conditions, and based
y
on that, do a previous
establecer cuál
analysis
es
in
la
order to
mejor respuesta
establish
ante
which
este
is the
lugar
best
en este
emergency
accidente
response
o
for
este
that
lugar
particular
en este
boat
accidente.
and that particular
Esto igualmente
accident.
pues, nos ha llevado a
That
establecer
has also
planes
led
de
us to
respuesta emergente
establish emergency response
regionales
plans in the regional
igualmente en
sections
varios
in
lugares.
different places around the world.
Otra línea posible
Another
de
possible
trabajo
line for work
estaríamos, bueno, es un proyecto
is
que
a
tenemos
project
presentado
that we
en el
have
programa Port
presented in
4.0
the
del puerto
Port
organizado de España, un
4.0 here
programa
in
de
Spain
innovación abierta en el
of
sistema
opening
portuario,
innovation in
que se llama
the
Compass y lo que
harbor
hace es valorar,
system.
digamos, el tráfico
It
portuario en un gran sistema
evaluates
portuario, como puede ser
all the
el que
traffic
estamos viendo
in
tanto
the
en
harbor, for
Barcelona, que va a
example,
ser
the
un
case
puerto
of
estratégico,
Barcelona, which will be
donde hay
our pilot
interferencia de muchas
port,
diferentes
where
terminales
there
de
are
distintas
different
tamaños y
terminals, different
diferentes
type of traffics,
exigencias,
different
cómo
demands,
son los movimientos de
as
los buques
well
por
as
la
the
zona puerto de
movement of the
Barcelona y de
boats in the
acceso a esta zona
access
portuaria
channels
y
in the
se
harbor, and
controla
all the
tanto los
different
buques en navegación como los
interference
buques
in the navigation boats
bajo tierra,
and the
mar
boats
y
that are already
terrestres.
moored. which has been become
Tenemos
a
también
really
en el
big
programa
problem.
Ports
We also have
4.0
the Ports
otro proyecto que
4.0.
también
It's
tenemos en
another
Prestamar.
project that we uh, are using, and it's called
Bueno,
Prestamar.
en este caso lo que queremos es estudiar las
In this case, we
condiciones
have to study the different
operación
conditions
y
of
permanencia de
operations and
buques
permanence and
en
staying
estas
in the
regiones
mooring
realmente
boats,
expuestos al
exposed
efecto
to
del
the
oleaje y
effect of
mandar
the
y
long
medir en
wave
campo a través
and
de la
combine
interpretación,
field
modelos predictivos
models with
y que
the
esto nos permita
predictive
optimizar la seguridad en la
conditions,
operación y reducir las
favoring
operaciones fallidas,
the
los accidentes y
safety
los
and prevent
retrasos en
accidents
las
and
operaciones, ¿no?
delays.
Son, como digo, varios
As I
campos en
said,
los que
there are
se ha ido
different
aplicando
fields where we have been
investigaciones
applying
concretas y
all these
desarrollos en ejecución
situations for, and we
para
have already
responder a estos
particular
retos.
applications to respond to these demands.
Bueno, intentando,
Well,
digamos, resumir
trying
algunas
to
ideas
summarize some
en
ideas
todos los aspectos
and all these
claves, ¿no?
different
A la
key
hora de
aspects
diseñar
in
una
when
infraestructura portuaria, una
designing
terminal, no
an
es
terminal
solamente
is not
ingeniería
only
pura,
engineering or
hormigón,
structure
equipamiento,
or equipment.
tiene que haber una filosofía
We
de
need to
diseño global,
add
es decir, nosotros
a
diseñamos y
global
diseñamos
design philosophy.
infraestructura y
We are
equipos ligados
designing
también a unos niveles
infrastructure
de
and
riesgo y unos
equipment
niveles de
linked
operaciones.
to
Entonces,
certain
esa
risk
filosofía
levels
conjunta
and operational
de
levels. All
funcionamiento,
that
equipamiento y
integral
mantenimiento
philosophic
es parte
equipment
esencial
risk analysis
de
is
la
an
manera
essential
moderna
part of
de
the new
diseñar
and
y
modern
aprobar la
way to
seguridad en los puertos.
design and
En este
approve
sentido, para
harbors
valorar
and
el riesgo de
terminals
operatividad de
in
una
order for us to
infraestructura antes de que se
assess
construya,
the risk
desde las fases iniciales del
before
proyecto,
they are
las herramientas
built.
de simulación son
With the
esenciales
simulation
porque
tools
aportan una
are
enorme utilidad
very
y
important. They
cubriendo todas
are
las
a
fases de
key
vida y operación, el
element
acceso del buque, la estancia, la interferencia con el tráfico.
to be able to
Otro
assess
aspecto
the
clave, el
conditions.
factor humano.
Another key
El factor no
element is
es
the human
solamente
factor. The
un
human
problema
factor is
de
not
pura
just a
ingeniería
matter
o
of
de herramientas, de
engineering
pesos, de
or
resistencias.
resistance or weight or
Todas las operaciones
construction.
portuarias van a
All
tener detrás
the harbor
personas.
and
Esas personas
port facilities
influyen
will have
también en nuestro
people
proceso
behind,
de
and those
innovación y
people have
seguridad
to
y por lo tanto todo lo que
make
es transmitir el
their
conocimiento, la
presence. They
capacitación,
transmit
el
the
entrenamiento del personal,
knowledge.
aprovechando todo el
They
conocimiento en el
take
departamento
advantage of all
de
the
diseño
process
es
for the
esencial
design, which is
para aumentar
essential to
la
increase
eficiencia
the
del proceso.
efficiency
Y por
of the
otra parte,
process.
estamos hablando de un
Another, on
mundo
the other hand,
multidisciplinar.
we are
No,
talking about
hay que
disciplinary
conjugar la
um,
participación, el
activities. We
conocimiento
have
y la
to
implementación
gather all the
de autoridades
knowledge
portuarias,
and the
autoridades marítimas,
experience of
el
marine
operador de la
authorities, the
terminal,
operator of the
artífices,
terminal,
montadores, amarradores,
all
todos
the
los servicios
moors,
necesarios,
all
por
the
supuesto las navieras que van a actuar en esas
knowledge and
terminales y también las
experience and people
ingenierías
working
que van a
along with the
trabajar con los
engineering
barcos,
that will
procesos de
provide
adaptación, certificaciones,
experience and also the
y todo esto nos tiene que llevar,
certifications
como digo,
and
con ese
training.
criterio
All these
global de
global
diseño y
criteria
operación
of
y
design and
utilizando las
operation
herramientas
using the
4.0,
4.0
la
tools
industria
in the industry
4.0, básicamente herramientas que van a ser
basically will
procedimientos
be
operativos
tools
objetivos
that will
completos
become
a sistemas de gestión en tiempo
systems
real, sistemas
for
inteligentes, aprovechando al máximo todos
real-time
los
management
beneficios
systems.
del 4.0,
Using these
a
tools
disponer
in
de planes de
Industry
contingencia sólidos y
4.0,
completos que nos
using
permitan responder
solid
a las emergencias
contingency
que se puedan producir
plans
y, por supuesto, planes de
for any
capacitación
emergency.
y
And of course,
entrenamiento
all the
para todo el
training
personal involucrado
process
en las
for all the
diversas
personnel involved
fases
in the
del proyecto.
different stages of the program.
Bueno,
And
y
well,
con esto
with
termino
this,
lo
I
que
just
me
finished
planteaba
what
transmitir
I
a
was
la
planning to share
audiencia. A partir de aquí
with the
espero haber
audience today.
sido
I
suficientemente
hope
claro
I
en un
was
tiempo
clear
razonable
enough in
y,
this
por supuesto, estoy abierto
reasonable time,
a
and
cualquier
I am
comentario o
open to
pregunta
any
que
comment or any
consideren
questions that you
pertinentes. Muchísimas
consider
gracias por
appropriate.
el tiempo y por la atención.
Well, thank you
Bueno,
for your
gracias, José
attention. Well,
Ramón,
no,
por
thank you,
esta
Jose Ramon, for this
presentación que hemos
incredible
denominado
presentation that we have
Estudios
called
técnicos de
Technical
seguridad y riesgos náuticos
Studies
para
of
la
Safety
aprobación de
and Nautical
ports.
Risk for the
José
Approval of
Ramón se ha
Ports.
paseado por todos los
He
análisis,
has gone through all the
todos sus
different
intríngulis que
analysis
hay,
and
que
all
no
the different
solamente es el estudio
comments,
básico
because
del
it's
riesgo,
not
sino
just
el uso de
about the
tecnología,
basic
el uso de
risks, but
conocimiento
also
para
the use
lograr
of knowledge and
obtener la
technologies
mayor
in order
eficiencia una
to
vez que se aprueba
gather
y
the
se
best
desarrolla
efficiency
una
once an
infraestructura
harbor
portuaria,
infrastructure
enfocándose en
has
toda la
been
gestión y los
approved,
resultados
and
operacionales.
also see the
Ya para
operational
continuar con
results.
esta
And in order to
interesante
continue with
panel
this
de
interesting
discusión,
panel
cuyo
of
juego hemos
discussion,
denominado
which we have called
Industria
Industry
4.0,
4.0,
tendencias
trends
y nuevas
and new
tecnologías
technologies applied
aplicadas en
to
terminales
marine
marítimos y
and fluvial
fluviales.
terminals.
Y es el turno
And
en
it
este
is
momento
now the
de mi
turn of
queridísimo
my
amigo
dearest
Gonzalo
friend
Mera Truffini.
Gonzalo Mera Truffin.
Gonzalo es el
Gonzalo
gerente
is the
ejecutivo para las Américas de
executive
Miss Marine.
manager of
¿Qué tal,
Miss
Gonzalo?
Marine. Hello,
Eh,
Gonzalo.
mm, actualmente un
He
connotado
is a
vicepresidente de
well-known
la Sociedad
vice president of
Latinoamericana de
the
Operadores Marítimos, y
Latin
también
American of
y es egresado de la Escuela Nacional
Marine
Náutica.
Operations, and
En
he's also
Argentina navegó de cadete a
um,
capitán en distintos tipos de
he
buques.
sailed from
Gonzalo
cadet to
también es
captain in
diplomado en
different type
gestión
of ships,
portuaria y vías
graduated
navegables.
in port
Se desempeñó en
management
diferentes
and
actividades dentro
waterways.
de
He
terminales
carried out
hasta
different
ser jefe de
activities
puerto
within
dentro
terminals until
del
he was head of
YPF,
port
donde
at
también
La
fue
Plata
gerente de
of
Marine Assurance
YPS,
y
where
responsable
he
de
was also
descargas,
manager of
riesgos
marine
y emergencias
assurance and
marítimas
responsible
y
for the
fluviales.
venting and marine
Actualmente es
fluvial
gerente ejecutivo
emergency
para las
areas.
Américas de Miss
Currently,
Marine
he is the
y
executive
como
manager of the
vicepresidente de
Americas
la
of Miss
Sociedad
Marine and the
Latinoamericana
president
de
of the
Operadores
Latin
de
America
Terminales Marítimos
Society of
Terminales y
Marine
Monobuoys.
Oil and Monobuoys
Bienvenido
terminal
a esta
operators.
tu casa,
Welcome to this
Gonzalo,
your house,
con la
Gonzalo, with
temática
the
que nos
topic that you
planteas,
will be presenting:
tecnología aplicada
technology
para la
apply
gestión de la
for the
interfaz,
management of the
Marine
interface,
Assurance
Marine Assurance
2.0.
2.0.
Muchas gracias, Francesco.
Thank you very
Bueno,
much.
sin más, voy a
I'm going to
dar
be
inicio a la presentación.
beginning my
La
presentation.
presentación se fundamenta
It's
básicamente
basically
en los principios de Marine
based
Assurance, que
on the
son
marine assurance
básicamente
principles, which are
enfocados en
mainly
la
focused
industria
on the
energética,
energy
no
industry,
limitada a esta industria.
not limited to this industry
La
alone.
particularidad que tiene la industria, la industria de los hidrocarburos,
The
es que
particular
una de las
features this
energías
industry
las
has
energías son
related to the
críticas para el
energies,
desarrollo
those energies are
de los
critical for
países, de las
development on
regiones, aún de las
countries,
propias
regions,
empresas, son la
and
puerta de
even for the
entrada y
private
salida
companies or the
de los productos que son necesarios para todo
incoming and
ese
outgoing
ecosistema
flow of
de
products. So
circulen,
all
se
this can
genere
happen, all this can make
se genere la
business,
electricidad,
that power
etcétera.
can be created,
Entonces, la eficiencia en los
generated.
terminales se vuelve
So
un factor
efficiency on
sumamente
terminals becomes a
crítico
very
para
critical aspect
maximizar
in
no
order
solo
to
la
maximize
utilización de
not
las
only
instalaciones que son
the
de alto
functioning of
costo
the
energético,
facilities, which are
sino
high-cost
también para
facilities, but as
disminuir
well to
o
reduce
reducir la
or
disrupción de las
minimize the
actividades
impact
que se
the
encuentran
activities may have
relacionadas
upstream and
de los
downstream
terminales, como
terminals,
pueden
as
ser, por
might be, for
ejemplo, los procesos
instance,
productivos de
productive processes
refinería
related to refining
o el
and or
comercio de
marketing
diferentes
of
productos
different
a nivel
products
global.
worldwide.
La tecnología, entonces, la
Nowadays,
aplicación de
the
tecnología en
implementation of
esto que se
technology, if
conoce como
this
la
concept, as we
industria
know, like
4.0,
Industry
tiene
4.0,
cuatro
is
pilares
based on four pillars, four
básicos,
basic
fundamentales, que son
pillars,
necesarios, que
fundamentals,
son los que
aspects
potencian las
that
actividades
promotes
dentro de los
the activities
terminales,
within the
como
terminals
puede
as
ser la
are
colaboración.
collaboration.
La colaboración significa
Collaboration
el uso
means the
compartido de datos
shared
o herramientas por
utilization of
todos los stakeholders que
data
participan
by
dentro
every
del
tool and
proceso
stakeholder
de un
part of the
terminal, en este
process
caso,
within the terminal,
el
in this
acceso a
case.
tiempo real
Real-time
para
access
poder
in
realizar
order
la
to be able to
monitoreo de
carry
todos
out
los
the real-time monitoring
procedimientos
of every
que van sucediendo y una
event that
respuesta efectiva
occurs,
por parte
and be able to provide a
de los
proper
distintos
response in a timely
stakeholders que
manner
interactúan.
from
La
the
gestión por
corresponding
excepción, que
stakeholders.
permite
Management
asignar
by
tareas
exception is another aspect
específicas
that
a
allows
cada
to
uno
assign
de
a
esos
specific task
stakeholders
to each
para
one
ser
of the
más
stakeholders
efectivos en cuanto a
to
la
become more
respuesta
effective
y las
with
acciones
regards
que se
to the
realizan, y las distintas
responses
opciones de programación
and the different
que permiten la
programming
procesamiento
options
de datos
that allows
históricos del terminal,
programming
seguimiento
of the
de
history
datos
data, the follow-up
como pueden ser
of
de
data as might
AIS
be
o de otros modelos
IAS
que se estén
or from
utilizando.
other boards that may be
Hay múltiples
being
etapas
utilized.
en la
There are some
operación de
other
un
stages
terminal. La
within the
primera etapa
operation of a
significa el
terminal. The first
momento
stage
que un
occurs by the
buque es
time
nominado,
the
quiere decir que el
vessels,
buque es
a
ofrecido
nominee
para
vessel,
operar
it means
dentro del
that a boat
terminal,
is already
y un
offered
proceso
to
clave
work on
tiene
a
que ver
terminal.
con
So a key
el
process
análisis de
has to do with the
compatibilidad
compatibility
entre el
analysis
buque
within the
y
ship
el muelle
and
o
the
los
port
muelles. Esto quiere
or
decir
harbor
hacer un
or
análisis
harbors in plural.
dimensional que viene
This means doing a
establecido
dimensional study,
de alguno
which is
de algunos de los factores que
pre-established
mencionaba
as a
antes
result of the
José
previous
Ramón,
studies
para verificar
addressed
que el
by Jose
buque
Ramon,
efectivamente
in order to verify that the ship
dimensionalmente
has the
puede
dimensions
quedar amarrado de forma segura y
to be properly
efectiva
moored
dentro del terminal. No
alongside
todos los
the
buques
port.
son
Not
compatibles con todos los
every ship
terminales.
is compatible
Hay
to every
múltiples
port.
elementos de
There are many
análisis
aspects to be
de
analyzed
compatibilidad
to
de
figure out
dimensiones entre los
compatibility
buques
within
y
sizes
los muelles que deben
between
ser tenidos
the
en cuenta,
vessels
que
and the
tienen que
ports
llevar a
by
que que se produzca
overlooking them, this might
errores
create
altamente costosos.
heavily
Por
and
ejemplo,
costly
seleccionar un
errors.
buque
For
que
instance,
posea
by selecting a ship that may
restricciones
have some
que no se
restrictions
hayan identificado
that
previamente puede
do not get to be
derivar a que
identified that may
posteriormente deban hacerse operaciones
create
de
results and
reboque o
operations
que
restricted from
ese
ship
buque
to
deba
ship,
visitar otros
or
terminales para
that may create the need that the
transportar
ship has to visit another
También
ports
pueden existir
in order to
conflictos
load the cargo.
situacionales, también lo
There may be
mencionaba
some other
José Ramón.
conflicts related
Por
to the
ejemplo,
situation. For
si
instance,
un
if a
buque
ship
está operando dentro de
is
un terminal y
operated within a
utilizando una
terminal
serie
and is
de
using, let's
líneas
say,
de
a
carga
number of
y otro
loading
ship está en otro
lines,
terminal
and
y está
another
usando una
ship
línea de carga,
is
bueno,
another terminal, but they're sharing
no
the
podría,
loading
no podría
lines,
utilizarse.
that
Y
simultaneous
si un
operation
buque
cannot
excede
happen.
dimensionalmente
Or another example would
los
be
límites de un muelle
if the ship exceeds the limits
y
of the
obstruyendo ese
harbor,
muelle, bueno, tampoco podría
ending up
mandarse un
obstructing
buque en el muelle que
the
está
next door.
siendo obstruido.
You wouldn't
Todos
be
esos
allowed
análisis
for mooring.
corresponden a los
So all
análisis
those
que deben
spatial analysis had to be
realizarse
done
a través de
through
la verificación de datos de
data
múltiples
verification of
factores
a number of data,
dentro
number of
de
aspects
el análisis
as
de
part of the
compatibilidad.
compatibility analysis.
Como sabemos, los algoritmos que se utilizan para
As we
comparar
know,
estas
all the
características
algorithms that are
dentro del
used to
muelle
compare all these
permiten obtener
features within the
resultados
number of
específicos y
ships
las
and moors
operaciones debieran o no
let
debieran
us know
continuar.
whether the operations may
Esto nos
continue
da
or
alertas
not.
tempranas
We
sobre
get
posibles
early
conflictos
alerts
que
of
pueden
any possible
existir frente a
conflict that may
cualquier
exist
cambio durante
facing
las
any
operaciones
change
del terminal.
during the
Cada
operations in the terminal.
modificación,
So
si yo
any
tengo
modification that happens, if I have
soporte,
supporting
puedo ir
technologies,
revalidando los
may
datos y
require and may go
otorgándome
through revalidation
nuevos resultados
processes
que me
by
permitan tomar
producing new
decisiones de
results that
forma
allow
más
me to make decisions in a
inteligente.
smarter way and
Es por
timely
esto que
manner.
las
That's
herramientas
why the
permiten la
tools
recopilación, el
allow for the
procesamiento, el modelado
gathering,
y el análisis
processing,
de datos
modeling,
específicos que se
and
utilizan en cada
analysis of
una de las
specific data that is
etapas
used in every
operativas del
specific stage of
terminal,
the
como pueden
operational
ser
terminal
la
operations, as
planificación
might be planning
durante el armado de lo que
during
normalmente se denomina port scheduling, el line-up del
the
terminal,
lineup of the
qué buque
terminal
opera
within the port
primero, qué
scheduling,
buque opera
which port,
segundo, qué buque opera
which
tercero,
vessel goes
en qué
first, which vessel
diferentes
goes
muelles,
second and
con qué
third,
distintos
on the
equipos,
different ports,
líneas de
what
amarre,
type of mooring lines are to be used,
piping de carga,
what
etcétera.
loading pipes
Todo lo
are
que
to
tiene que
be
ver con el
used.
monitoreo, una vez
Every
que el
aspect that
buque
has to
está
do with
operado,
monitoring. Once the
cómo
ship
se
is
va
already moored
realizando el
alongside,
seguimiento de las
the
operaciones,
follow-up to the
cómo están
operations and
caracterizadas esas
how the
operaciones,
operations
qué alertas
are
reciben quienes
sorted in
operan
terms of
para poder
parameters, who are the people
gestionar
involved in
y evitar,
managing
por ejemplo, demoras,
in order
y
to prevent any
posteriormente todo lo que
delays.
tiene que ver
And
con
after that,
la recopilación
anything that has to do with the
sistemática
systematic gathering
de
of
datos que permiten
data,
no solo
which in turn will
hacer un
allow to do
análisis de la
not
operación
only the
pasada,
analysis
sino
of past
también
operations,
de
but
forma
as
global
well, in
tener
general,
una
to
cantidad
have
de datos que, por ejemplo,
a broad
permiten
collection of
proyectos
data
de
for future
modificación de
projects that
infraestructura.
allows foresee modifications in the infrastructure.
En la etapa de
Now,
planificación de las
going into the
operaciones,
planning of
uno de los mayores desafíos es
operations,
alinear a todas
biggest
las partes de un
challenges
objetivo
to
común y
face for a
permitirles
common target
identificar
is
y adelantarse a
to
los
identify
problemas,
and move forward
pudiendo
and move
dimensionar
in
el
advance
impacto
towards the
presente y
challenges,
futuro
allowing
de
you to
todas
identify the
acciones o
impact on the
sus
present and the
omisiones.
future
Esto,
for
como
every
sabemos,
action or
dentro de una
omission that
operación
may
en un
occur.
terminal,
We
no
know
solo está el
in a
personal
terminal, we not only
operativo
have the
que cuenta
terminal
con
staff,
múltiples
there are
personas de
many,
trabajo que se
many,
suman y
many
que forman
parties,
parte
many
de los
stakeholders
resultados de
that are
operando del
part
terminal, como pueden ser
of the operations and are
barcos,
and in conjunction they work
meteorólogos,
together,
agencias
like could
marítimas,
be mooring teams,
autoridades,
the maritime agencies,
personal que realiza la
authorities,
medición, personal que
people doing
realiza el
measurements,
muestreo de los
staff carrying
tanques,
out
personal en
sampling of the
laboratorio que
vessels, lab
realiza
testing,
el análisis
staff.
de las muestras de los
So many
tanques,
different
etcétera.
fronts,
Cada una de esas
work fronts
personas
are happening.
normalmente
So all
dispara
these people
un proceso
normally
posterior
trigger a
dentro del
process.
proceso global de carga o descarga
It's
del
a
muelle
continuous
que tiene un impacto en el resultado de la
workflow,
operación. Contar
and they have a
con
result within the
equipos
operation, and it's reasonable that they need to have tools
tecnológicos
and
que permitan
technological
a cada una de
these devices that allow them to
esta
carry out
que permita la planificación de
and
cada una de las
execute, as well
actividades.
as
Estas
planning
personas se vuelven
each and
entonces
every activity. So
fundamentales.
planning the activities of this staff
parte del
becomes
monitoreo de las
important.
operaciones,
Now,
hay dos
talking
etapas.
about
Una
planning the
es,
operations,
primero,
there are two
el
stages. First,
alineamiento de
we've
lo que
got
va
the
ocurriendo
aligning
con lo
what is happening
planificado,
against
y
what
después
is
la
scheduled,
corrección de
and then the
las
corresponding
actividades que, si bien
correction
pueden haber sido planificadas,
of the activities
requieren que
ongoing,
sean, que
whether
surjan
they
cambios.
match with the
Entonces se va
plan
haciendo como
or they
una
obey to changes.
modificación de la
So as activities move forward,
inicial.
their continuous modification occurs.
Los desafíos principales,
Main
claramente,
challenges
es
that we had to
asegurar
face
la calidad de
is
los
to assure
productos, disminuir
the,
las
the
demoras,
quality of the
los
products, to
impactos,
reduce
decimos aguas
delays,
arriba y aguas abajo. Hay
both
capitales,
ways,
me tocó a mí en Puerto de la Plata, que operan de
upstream
forma
and
lineal
downstream that
con
work
los
in a
procesos
linear
productivos de las
workflow.
refinerías, entonces un
For instance,
impacto
like in the
o
refineries.
una
So
demora
having a
prolongada
delay,
en el
a
puerto
prolonged
puede
delay
tener un
on loading
impacto en
in the
procesos
port
productivos
may
o
create an impact
en
on
el
production
cumplimiento
processes,
de obligaciones
or
contractuales dentro del mercado
be in compliance with
internacional.
the legal
El control de
requirements.
las operaciones es un factor crítico.
Control of the
Permite
operations is a
conocer
critical
en todo
aspect that
momento el
allow you to
estado de
know
las,
at all
el estado
times
de las líneas de
the status of
cargamento, de
the
los
loading
diferentes
line and the
tanques,
different
de los
tanks, the different
buques, los diferentes
spaces
eventos
of the
que componen la
vessels,
operación y la capacidad
the
de notificar
capacity
a
to
cada stakeholder
notify to each
inmediatamente sobre un
party
evento
involved
para
at any
intentar
time in order
corregirlo
to
y que ese
correct any
stakeholder
deviation, and the stakeholder may have the
accione
opportunity to
en
take actions
consecuencia,
in
minimizando
consequence,
así
minimizing
los impactos.
thus the impacts.
También nos permite corregir
Also,
cualquier
this
falla en
allowed
la
us to correct
planificación,
any
operación. La
failure on the
planificación
planning. From the
puede
beginning,
no haber
planning
sido
may have
la
included
adecuada, el mantener un
omissions or
monitoreo
may not be adequate or not
efectivo
including
nos puede
effective
alertar de
monitoring.
esta condición, y el uso de tableros
This will be
comunes
creating
también
a problem in notifications,
es
and the use of common
fundamental.
boards
Hoy en día contamos con
a practice that
herramientas
more and
no
more
solo
are getting
que permiten a través de un tablero seguir las
benefits.
operaciones,
So by
sino
using these
también la
boards, we
integración
can
de los
follow up the
diferentes
operations, and
checklists
also
que
we
son
can
utilizados en
utilize them
las
during
operaciones,
operations,
tanto por control de
both for
seguridad, por
safety
control de
controls,
calidad,
quality
o
controls
por controles
purposes, as well as
operativos,
operational controls reasons.
ganando en todo lo que tiene
By
que
doing
ver con
so,
la
we are able to
trazabilidad
reach and
de la
gain
información.
better results and traceability of the information.
Dependiendo del tipo
Depending on the
de
type of
tecnología
technology that
utilizada,
we
una puede
use,
ser,
as
como lo
it could
comentaba
be,
también José Ramón,
as we said,
con fines
with
predictivos
predicting purposes
o de pronóstico.
or providing forecasts.
Los resultados
The results
también, si se
obtained,
aplican múltiples
if multiple
tecnologías,
technologies are
pueden ir
applied,
ajustando la
could
planificación
offer
para
an
ir
adjustment option
mejorando la
as we move along, so
previsibilidad
we can
y la
continuously improve
tecnología y la aplicación, por
the
ejemplo,
technology
de
or
herramientas
the
de machine learning.
application, for instance,
Lo
the
que
use
hacen
of
es
machine learning technologies,
permitir
which allowed
ajustar a
us to
futuro todas
have a continuous adjustment
todos esos elementos
on,
de,
in the ongoing
de-
process of
de
every
predicción.
element that
En la
offers a
parte de
prediction.
monitoreo,
Now, speaking
brindar
of
las alertas
monitoring,
necesarias
that
en tiempo
offers
real sobre
real-time
desvíos
alerts
o posibles
of possible
desvíos,
deviations, that
potenciales
potential
desvíos
deviations
que
that may
pudieran
occur
ocurrir,
or
para
are
permitirnos
closer to occur,
realizar una
so we can
corrección
have a
a
proper
tiempo
and
y
timely
disminuir claramente los
correction,
impactos
diminishing
derivados de
properly
esos
the
eventos,
impacts as a result of those
y
such
con los
events.
elementos descriptivos,
And
que
using those
normalmente lo que se
descriptive
conoce
elements,
como
as we
inteligencia de
call
negocio,
business intelligence,
ir
be able to
recopilando la
gather
información de los distintos
pertinent
eventos que nos
information
puedan
from the
dar
different
indicación,
events
por
that
ejemplo, de
could be giving
tendencias,
us information related, for
tendencias de
instance, like
equipos,
trends,
de
trends
acuerdo a
on the
cómo se
equipment,
desglose esa información, nos
according
puede
to the way
ir
they are
dando
performing.
de distintas alertas.
This
Y
could be
finalmente,
provided
todas las
different
capacidades
alerts. And
prescriptivas que
lastly,
tienen hoy
the
las
full set of
herramientas
capabilities in the
tecnológicas que nos dan
technological suits
indicación sobre las
that
acciones
give us
que
indication of the
podríamos
actions that
adoptar
we may adopt or
frente a
follow
múltiples escenarios o a
when we're facing multiple
la aplicación
scenarios
de
or the
múltiples
use
variables
utilization
sobre
of multiple variables on
distintos
different
escenarios que
scenarios
se nos presentan.
that we may be facing.
En sí, la tecnología existe
So
para
bottom line,
reducir el
technology
tiempo y
is
los
here
esfuerzos
to reduce time,
necesarios
consuming
dentro de
effort
la
necessary
gestión
to manage marine terminal operations
conduciendo a la
efficiently
eficiencia mediante la aplicación de
through the
herramientas
implementation
tecnológicas
of
como pueden
technological
ser
tools
el
like might be machine
la
learning,
inteligencia artificial,
AI,
los análisis avanzados,
advanced
los modelos
analysis,
digitales,
digital
brindan soporte
parameters that
dentro de
provide
esas
support
diferentes etapas
within different
operativas del
stages of the
terminal,
terminal
como
operations
la
that we were mentioning,
planificación,
like our
la
planning,
operación, el
operation,
monitoreo y luego
monitoring,
todo el
and
análisis
lastly,
de
the
los
entire
resultados,
block with related to analysis of results.
permitiéndonos de esta
This would
forma
allow us
desbloquear y
to
trabajar
achieve and unlock
sobre muchos de los desafíos que
aspects
enfrentan los
in the many
terminales.
challenges that the terminals are
No
facing.
alcanza solo con
It's not
la
enough just to
inteligencia
use artificial
artificial y todo
intelligence
el
itself
cúmulo
and the entire set
de
of
tecnología
technologies related to it
que existe hoy. También es
and available
necesaria la
today. It's
aplicación
also
de inteligencia
necessary the
de
use
las
of
personas,
the
o sea,
intelligence of
tiene que
people.
haber
So
profesionales,
we
tiene que haber
gotta have
personas que
professionals
interpreten, que logren alinear esos
properly
datos
trained that are
con los
capable of
intereses
aligning
de
this
la
data
compañía, con la
with the
filosofía de la
company
compañía,
interests, the philosophy of
con
the
las
company,
expectativas y
the
objetivos de la
expectations on the
compañía
purpose
para
of the
así
company, so they can
sistemáticamente mejorar
continuously
no
improve
solo
not
la
only
terminal,
the
sino
terminal
también las
itself, but
capacidades de
also
todos
the
los
capabilities
stakeholders
of
que
every
componen
stakeholder that are
la
part
operación
of the
de
operation
terminal.
on a terminal.
Es lo que tenía como
Well, that's all I
presentación,
got within this
Francesco.
presentation.
También
Francesco,
quedo a
I remain at your
disposición.
disposal.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Gonzalo, gracias de verdad.
Francesco
Le recuerdo a
said,
nuestra
Gonzalo,
audiencia que
I remind
Gonzalo Mera Truffini
my
es
viewers that
vicepresidente de
Gonzalo
los
Mera
asesores
Truffini is Vice
transportadores
President
marítimos
of
y
the
petroleros, y nos
Maritime,
habló de la
and
tecnología aplicada para la
he
gestión de la
was
interfaz
talking to us
Marine
to the technology
Assurance
applied to the Marine
2.0.
Assurance 2.0.
El mundo ha venido
World
evolucionando.
is being
Hay
developing.
un cambio y lo estamos
There's a constant change that
presenciando.
we're facing in the world.
A José Ramón
We'll listen
Iribarren
to José
hablando
Ramón
de
Iribarren
todo el
speaking
manejo
about the
de los
entire
riesgos,
management of
de
the
cómo
risk
debe
and how things
enfocarse
can be
en
should be
temas
focused in
los
order to cover the
riesgos
topic related to technical
seguridad
studies
y
related to
riesgos
safety
náuticos
and
para la
nautical
aprobación de los
risk
terminales
for the
y todas
approval
las
of the
variables
terminals and
que
every
esto
variable
está
that is
manejando.
involved.
Ahora
Now,
Gonzalo nos habló de la tecnología
Gonzalo was
aplicada
sharing with us the
para la
technology
gestión de la
that we can
interfaz
apply
de
for the
Marine
interface
Assurance 2.0.
management on the
Y
Marine
para
Assurance
cerrar este
2.0. And
ciclo,
now
digamos,
we're going to close this round of
compendio que viene en torno a los
presentations
terminales,
with
con
regards to
una
terminals with a
presentación
presentation no less
interesante que
interesting
la llevará a cabo
that
el
is going to be
ingeniero
made
Rafael
by
Rengifo.
engineer Rafael
Rafael
Rengifo.
nos estará conversando
Rafael
terminales
is going to
marítimos
be talking to
apoyando
us
los
marine
esfuerzos
terminals
de
getting
descarbonización, un tema
supporting
muy
the
actual
decarbonization
que
efforts. It's
se
a very
enmarca en
current
esta
topic
evolución
that
tecnológica, en estos
frames these
retos que se
technology
nos van
challenges that we're
produciendo
facing
a los operadores, a
nowadays in the
los
world,
mantenedores, a los
and
ingenieros
operators,
y a las
engineers,
empresas de
maintainers, and
servicio
the service
para
companies
poder
in order to
entender
understand
cómo lograr
how to
eficiencia,
achieve
decisiones
efficiency,
acertadas en estos campos
accurate
que están en
decisions
pleno
in
desarrollo.
this environment that
Antes de
we're
darle la
currently
palabra a
developing. Before
Rafael,
moving
que es el
to
director
his
de
presentation,
midstream de
he
la
is
empresa
the
Becht Engineering.
midstream director
Rafael es
of
un
Becht
ingeniero
Engineering.
con más de 30
He's got
años
over
de
30 years of
experiencia
experience
en integridad
on
mecánica
mechanical
e
integrity and
ingeniería en la
engineering
industria de
in the
refinación de
refining
petróleo y
industry
midstream.
and midstream.
Como director de
He's been
ingeniería
working
de
as
Phillips 66,
engineering director of
liderizó
Phillips
el equipo de
66. He
ingeniería que
was leading
apoyaba
the
las
engineering team
operaciones
providing
de toda la región
operations
sureste
for
de
the
Estados
entire
Unidos para
south
la
region in
misma
the
empresa Phillips
US
66
for the
en
Phillips
el área
66
de
company in
midstream,
the midstream area,
brindando soporte a
providing
oleoductos,
support to
terminales e
oil
instalaciones
pipelines,
marítimas,
terminals, and marine
tanques e
facilities,
instalaciones de otra índole.
tanks, and other
Encabezó
facilities.
proyectos de
He was
integridad
head of
mecánica en más
mechanical
de
integrity
50
in more than 50
terminales y
terminals
300
and 300
estaciones de
pumping
bombeo,
stations,
logrando en 80 proyectos de
achieving
reparación de
80
tanques
tank repair
durante
projects
20 años,
in
digamos,
20
cero
years with
lesiones en cada uno de sus
zero
proyectos en los que estuvo
injuries in
trabajando
any
y
project that he was working
básicamente
at,
sin
basically with
incidencias e incidentes
no major
significativos,
incidents.
reduciendo
By
además el tiempo de
reducing
respuesta en
response time by
45% para cada producto
45% to
refinado y
any refining
33%
products
para
and 33% of crude
una
oil.
experiencia además que se amplía con su
He
paso
has a
por el
broad
área de
experience
refinación, donde desarrolló
from
programas de
refining by
inspección y
developing
mejoras
inspection
en la
programs and
confiabilidad y
improvements on
control de la
reliability and
corrosión
corrosion
en
control
instalaciones de
for
refinación.
refining
Posee
facilities.
una licenciatura
He
en
holds
ingeniería de
a BS
materiales,
material
es un inspector
engineers. He's a
certificado
certified
API
API
653 y 510 y
653
además
and
es
510
vicepresidente
API
es
inspector,
presidente de
and he's the
en la
president
Corte
of
de
the
Inspección Integridad
Midstream
Mecánica,
Sector
API
in the Mechanical Integrity and
2024.
Inspection Summit,
Yo creo que sin
API
más preámbulo, quiero darle la
2024.
palabra
So no
al
further to
ingeniero
say, I'm going to
Rafael
pass word to engineer
Rengifo, que
Rafael
nos hablará de
Rengifo, who's
terminales
been speaking
marítimos
now of maritime
apoyando al
terminals providing
esfuerzo
support
de
to the
descarbonización.
decarbonization
Bienvenido,
efforts.
Rafael.
Welcome,
Y
Rafael.
gracias a Becht por el apoyo que nos ha dado.
Muchas gracias,
Thank you
Francesco.
very much,
Muy
Francesco.
agradecido
I
estar
am
aquí
very
y
thankful
buenas
to
tardes,
be
buenos
here,
días a
and good
todos ustedes,
afternoon, good
buenas noches.
morning, good night to
En
some of
realidad,
you. In
el flujo de este
fact,
panel
the
hace
flow of this
bien
panel
propicio este tópico.
makes this
Escuchamos a mis
topic
colegas que
very
hablaban desde la
feasible.
eficiencia y
I was talking
seguridad
to
en la
my
operación
colleagues and they were
marítima.
presenting about
Inclusive,
algorithm,
Gonzalo nos
efficiency,
hablaba
and
de
even
oportunidades
Gonzalo
para
discussed
poder
about opportunities
concatenar y alinear
to
todos los
align
datos
all the
existentes de la
data that
operación de
has
la
to do
parte
with the
onshore del
operational,
terminal. Mi tema va a ser
the
mayormente
onshore
enfocado
side of
a
the
la parte
terminal.
onshore,
My
la parte
topic will
tierra,
be talking
los
about the
equipos que tenemos
onshore
que
side
terminar
and all the
de
equipment that
cara
we
a la
have at the
situación que tenemos
terminal,
hoy en día con esta
facing
necesidad
the
de
situation
apoyar
of the
iniciativas
need we
de
have
descarbonización.
nowadays to support the
Pero
decarbonization
antes
initiative.
de ir
But
en detalle
before
del tópico,
going into more
¿por qué
detail,
nosotros? ¿Por qué Becht?
why
Becht,
Becht?
como nos introducía
Becht,
Francesco,
as
es una
Francesco
empresa
introduced
de
us,
ingeniería
is a company
multidisciplinaria
of
multisector
multidisciplinary and
que apoyamos
multi-sector
a operar y
engineering
mantener
company that
instalaciones
we
en cualquier sector
operate
de la
and
industria,
maintain
incluyendo terminales
any
marítimos. Pero entonces, esta
operations in any
experiencia
sector of the
multidisciplinaria
industry.
nos lleva
With
a
that
poder apoyar a nuestros
multidisciplinary
clientes en el
experience
área de
leads us to
mejoras
support our
estratégicas.
clients with a strategic
Las
improvement.
iniciativas de
All the
descarbonización y
initiatives
todo
for
lo que tiene que ver con la
decarbonization and everything
incorporación
that has
de
to do with the
combustibles
incorporation of
no renovables requiere
biofuels and
una
renewable fuels
evaluación estratégica.
require a
Es una
strategic
evaluación
assessment. It
logística y
requires a
operacional,
logistic assessment,
donde múltiples
supply chain
elementos tienen que ser
assessment, and
atendidos,
multiple
y todos ellos son
details that
de
have
las
to be
múltiples
covered
disciplinas de ingeniería.
by
Esa es
the
la razón por la
multiple
cual Becht
fields
se
of
convirtió en
engineering.
una empresa
That's why
líder para
Becht
apoyar
has
a
become
empresas
a
en
leader
esta
company to
transición
support companies in
con todos
this
los detalles
energy
que esto implica.
transition with all the details that they imply.
El tema de hoy,
The topic of
vamos a manejarlo de
today,
la siguiente manera. Vamos a generar primero
we
un
are going to
marco
generate a
de cuáles
framework
son las
of
oportunidades
the
para los
different
terminales apoyar el
opportunities of the
proceso de
opportunities to
descarbonización.
support
Y después
the
vamos a hablar de
decarbonization
dos
opportunities for
elementos
terminals.
importantes en la
And then we are
ecuación de la
going to talk
descarbonización.
about two
Uno
important
es
elements in the
los
equation:
retos que
the
tienen los
challenges of
biocombustibles y
renewable
las renovables. Y
fuels.
número
And
dos,
second,
las
the
oportunidades que
different
hay para
opportunities
optimizar el
to
consumo de energía.
optimize the
Después vamos a hablar
consumption of
de algunas
energy. We're
aproximaciones que
also going to
nosotros
talk
en
about some
Becht hemos
approaches
aprendido que
that
son
here in
útiles
Beck we have learned they are very
aproximarnos a estos
useful
dos
to
elementos de la
approach
ecuación de
these two
descarbonización
elements in the
para concluir entonces
equation of
uno de los aprendizajes que
decarbonization,
hemos tenido
and then we will
en
have
esta
some
experiencia.
conclusion of the learnings we have had in these applications.
La
The
situación del
situation
resultado
of the
energético
energy
tiene tres
transition
bloques en
has
realidad.
three main
Uno es el
blocks.
estado
First
actual,
of all is the
otro es
current
la dirección
state.
que se ha
The
trazado
second is the
la humanidad
direction
y los métodos
humankind
que tenemos que
have
seguir en
achieved
un
and
estado deseado
the
que se ha
challenges we
colocado
have
en el año
faced.
2050, en algunos
And
estudios en
the
Europa se
desired
considera así, o
state,
año
it could
2035,
be year
pero todo
2050.
parte de la
Some
situación
other
actual
countries
donde hay
have,
una
say,
realidad o hay
2035.
todavía
However, there
dependencia
is a
de combustibles,
reality. We still depend on
el COVID,
fuel,
la guerra en
uh,
Ucrania,
fossil
son
fuels.
situaciones que han
The
hecho
war
que
in
el
Ukraine
consumo en ciertos
has
sectores
made
aún sea muy
certain
difícil
situations
de
for the
sustituir
consumption of
con
certain
inventos de
sectors, which is difficult
cortoplazo
to
de combustibles
substitute
fósiles.
these
Sin
fuel,
embargo, la determinación
these
y la
fossil
decisión
fuels
está clara, es la
soon. So
sustitución
it
del
is clear that we
supercombustible
have to
por
substitute these
electrificación
fossil
y combustibles
fuels
y
by
biocombustibles.
biofuels.
Y entonces
And
hay la
then we
necesidad
will
de
be facing
adecuar,
the
de hacer
need
un
of
repropósito de
adapting
las facilidades que
the
tenemos hoy en
different
día en
facilities
diferentes
we have
sectores,
today in the
en
different
refrigeración,
sectors, in
pero
refining
para lo que nos
sector,
compete
and for
en los
our
terminales
purpose, in
marítimos,
particular to the
hay la
marine
necesidad
terminals, we
de una
have the need
evaluación y un
of an
repropósito para poder
assessment and
manejar los biocombustibles
repurpose
y
to
las nuevas
handle
materias
these
primas
new
para esos combustibles.
energies and the raw material
Con
for
todo
those
esto,
fuels,
la
of course.
pregunta es
With
fundamental y
all
es la
this,
pregunta que
of
tenemos
course,
que
the
hacer como los
question
grandes.
is key.
¿Y qué hay de nosotros entonces
And what
como
about
la
us?
industria de los terminales?
What about the
¿Cómo
terminal
nosotros vamos a
industry?
apoyar?
How
Y
can we
esto es una pregunta que nos
support?
hacemos
And
mucho,
that's a
inclusive a
question we
nivel
ask
individual, cuando
ourselves not
vemos la
only as
necesidad
a company but
de
also
descarbonizar.
individually.
Bueno, ¿y cuál es
When
la
we see
contribución
the
de eso
need
ahora?
to decarbonize, and what's our contribution? As I mentioned at the beginning, a very simple equation of what the decarbonization could be, we have two terms. The first of all is the use of biofuels and renewable fuels. In this case, we will be focused in liquids because we're talking about terminals that handle liquids. There is a series of initiatives on the side of gas or in the eolic or power. But what it is, our point here is the storage and transportation of liquids. So we have all these vegetable oils, some of them for human consumption, and we have some byproduct like animal fat and some used kitchen oil, which is prime raw material for these fuels. And that's another component, and it has its own challenge. And the other one is the need to reduce the consumption of energy. That's another way to decarbonize, using less fossil fuels, less than what we use today. With that in mind, we are going to talk about the first component of the equation, which are the biofuels and the prime material to use it, and which are the challenges for them. Well, first of all, we are going to talk about more reactivity of the material. These organic prime or raw material, some of them can be just byproducts or waste of other products. Some others are oil. Most of them contain a big amount of olefins which are reactive. That reactivity could be a problem. For example, if we have some tanks, we need to set these layers of inertization to prevent the contact with oxygen. These blankets, the corrosivity of these products is higher. Therefore, we need different products for covering them. The viscosity of this material is higher, and it implies a need to add external or internal heat to be able to store them with the appropriate fluidity. And then it also implies a series of modifications to the existing tanks in order to be able to store these products. The risk of biodegradation are present, all the challenges to handle water present. Smell also that could disturb the close by communities. All those topics, all those matters are different to what we are used to the traditional fossil storage. On the other side, we also have to consider the arrangements of the different load terminals by train, or it could be marine terminal, or it can be by trucks. Because these conventional load systems of fuel of fossil fuels has to be the appropriate one, even for the vessels or other ones require certain heat level. All these products have a very high content of paraffins that can be deposited, and they can obstruct certain equipment, and that brings us to a need to have more energy in order to heat and reheat these systems, instrumentation, rotary equipment, or pipelines. That means more energy. When we were talking about the need of optimizing energy, it is like a paradigm here, because on one side we have the need to mobilize and store biofuels, biomaterial, and all these are leading us to spend and use more energy. That leads us to the other side of the equation, which are the different optimization opportunities for energy consumption. Based on our experience analyzing potential sources of energy losses, We have found a list of about 10 elements that are typical, some of them, and some others not so obvious. I will start with the ones that are more obvious for everyone. All the heat lost based on metal surfaces, which have these products like could be the tanks or could be the piping or the piping system for the terminal. That's a source of loss of energy. And it's a way to mitigate it. And some of the opportunities for optimization could be thermal isolation upgrades. All these challenges increase the need of increasing the optimization, and also notwithstanding the source, either if it is heat or thermal, heat or steam, they can be reassessed. And all these opportunities are in the area of instrumentation. Going to the next type of equipment that are important opportunity for efficiency and optimization of energy, we have the boilers. The boilers are usually in many terminals, they produce the steam, the hot water, in order to keep these type of materials, viscous materials, fluid. We were talking about also the instrumentation and control of boilers. It's a great opportunity to make it more efficient. In the same way, we have the different pumping equipment, which operation depends on an electrical power motor. But the operation of the pump, the flow, how the flow is operated can be enhanced. The system for steam recovery, critical during the load and download of vessels or trains or trucks. There are lots of opportunities for optimizing energy, incorporating systems that can recover lighter hydrocarbons. Of course, we need projects incorporating three phases, separators, and so on. From up to there, the things could be like evident for some of us who have had an operational experience at terminals. However, there are some elements in the processes which is aligned with the Industry 4.0, as my colleagues were mentioning. Handling data and all the processes in the maintenance area, for instance. Reactive maintenance consumes more energy. Not to plan properly the maintenance operations like predictive or preventive, but instead react to a failure, that solution implies more energy. We need to go under that process of maintenance based in reliability. Another source of loss are the very short intervals between internal inspections. Every time a tank is out of service, it's an event that has a very high expense and energy consumption from multiple points of view, and also emissions to the atmosphere. The cost of the fuel, high fuel cost, and the possibility of use different type of fuel for boilers and that type of equipment, they have to be performed these feasibility studies. And also, I have discussed this before, and also my colleagues, this process for planning are basically focused on service and not much in the optimization. So that's the purpose of correcting a failure, but not to optimize the process itself. So there is also a possibility using a harmonized data-driven process, we can reduce that loss of energy. The approaches, well, we have had some approaches to these two challenges, the handling of biofuels and renewable fuels and energy optimization. We will summarize in this equation that I mentioned at the beginning. Regarding the challenges to handle these fuels, renewable ones, we have to start with logistic simulations in order to understand in a conceptual manner what's the scope of the projects which are necessary, as well as the modifications we have to do at the terminal. From there, we have the need to reassess the mechanism of degradation in the different equipment. As I said, we have now some material which are more corrosive and more reactive, and the plans for inspection and maintenance have to be renewed and updated. The specification for the materials have to be reviewed, and this is important because it leads us to an opportunity to approach these situations of change with a safety philosophy in the processes. And that's something we find very important. In fact, the safety in handling process, managing process is not something typical in terminal, at least not in the United States. The process safety management, as we say here, is mostly required by OSHA, the facilities for the facilities of processes, but not necessarily for an storage facility, storage and distribution. However, the 14 elements elements that can deeply help to understand what's the change and handle it in a safe and efficient manner. From there, the need, as we said, to assess the criticality of the equipment before the new conditions, and we were also talking about obstructions as a result of this viscose material or waxes and paraffin. So what's the criticality of this equipment under these conditions? Instrumentation, rotary equipment, etc. And finally, the preparation of equipment reliability plays based on reliability. In the component side of the energy optimization, we have had an approach based on the indicators of the terminals, depending on their gears, depending on the tools and the opportunities to use the digitalization technology. There are certain type of indicators that are representative. That could be basically the first revision for energy optimization. And second, we have to go for a specific revision talking about the boilers or pumps and unit for steam recovery, and then understand which are the ideas. For example, in the terminal, it's good to discuss these different ideas to understand what's the ranking of these opportunities versus the cost. And finally, prepare an implementation system in order to reduce the cost of the energy consumption. With all this, what we have concluded is that we have to start with a logistic study handling the supply chain in order to understand what we have to do when we are doing a repurpose terminal to handle renewable fuels or as well as to observe the need to optimize the energy consumption. In current conditions, we have opportunities handling these fossil drafts. However, we need to approach the new opportunities. To have meetings like this and discussions like this make the practicals of the technologies evolve to understand what type of capital projects, what type of initiatives are necessary, and assess them in terms of cost benefit. And finally, something that I really like to emphasize is that every year, all the years of experience, all the technology that we have developed around the fossil fuels is applicable and can be aligned to the energy transition, because that's what we have, and that's what we can do with a very clearly defined purpose, which is the preservation of our planet, which is the only home we have. And I think we all have a great challenge, and what we have to do, we have to be focused on this main purpose. Well, thank you very much. This is what I had for you as material to start the discussion, and I'm ready. What a good beginning for this discussion panel, for this presentation that Rafael Rengifo has presented today, which he called Terminal Marine Supporting the Effort of Decarbonization. Now I want to welcome to this transmission, to special transmission, to our Director of Marketing, Hilda Maria Besson, who is here with us from Houston. Thank you for being with us today, Hilda. And I also want to thank all the community that is here with us today during this transmission. And we will continue transmitting because we have the most important part, which is the question and answer section. But I don't want to miss the participation of Hilda, who will be making some comments. I'm very pleased to be here. I am really impressed with the great participation we have had from all the digital community in our YouTube channel where we are doing this transmission in two languages. In one channel, we are in Spanish, and in the other one, we have simultaneous translation in English, and the participation has been great. And also in our official channel of Inspenet, different organizations are participating. For me, it's been an honor to be part of this team. As Francesco said, I am part of this Inspenet family in the leadership of marketing. And for me, it's very exciting, this type of meetings, because, of course, I feel and I consider that the future is in our mind, in the knowledge, and all that information that we store. So in Inspenet, we believe that that future is here, is today, in initiatives like this panel of discussion. So I want to thank to this amazing VIP exclusive group of people, Mr. José Ramón, Mr. Gonzalo, Rafael, who have had a great opportunity. The three topics have been amazing, and mainly in the participation of all those partners. In Inspenet, we have created an ecosystem. Not only the professional and all of you listening to us can have the opportunity to grow and connection with other colleagues, like a networking, and everything is transformation learning. But also the organization all the organizations that can expand and expand their digital presence in our ecosystem and in our platform. In this opportunity, we have had 4 amazing organizations which are part of our partners. They have been with us, supporting us, not only in initiatives like this discussion panel, but also in some events where Inspenet is present. First of all, I want to thank to Liquid Terminals. It's a leader organization for the storage of liquids. Its main objective is to promote operational excellence, sustainability in the sector. Hilda offers solutions for training, programs, safety standard and policies, increasing the efficiency and the industry at a global level. We also have as partner the Latin American Society of Marine Operation and Monoboat, and SLOM is an international association, non-profitable, which looks for the integration of all the supply chain among the oil industry and the harbors, marine terminals and energy, and besides similar entities. And I want to thank that also to say that the next, from the 27th to the 29th in Inspenet, we will be participating and supporting this organization, SLOM, which will have an event celebrating in Rio de Janeiro, and they have this spectacular programming for all the professionals of its industry in academic activities, where from Inspenet we will be sharing with you. I also want to thank the company Miss Marine, global leader in the development applied to the marine sectors and energy, Miss Marine Assurance are committed to provide quality system and innovators to enhance the processes and quality of data, specialize in the design, development, and maintenance of systems of marine assurance of state-of-the-art for the marine and energy sectors. And a great ally for us, the important is also which is Becht also offers um, optimization of processes, asset management, integrity structural, and industrial safety. Their services help us to enhance efficiency and reliability of all the industrial operations. And it has been a pleasure to count on these four organizations, which are very important as our partners, and also with all the representatives. It's an honor to have all of you here. I've been reading your comments, and I know many of you are here from other parts of the world. So let's begin with the questions and answers section, and please share in the chat where are you connected from, because for us it's very important what country you are for, because we have many different activities for 2024, and we want to be there with you and for you, so you can become part of us.
Gracias, Hilda. Realmente muy importante darle el espacio y la connotación.
So thank you, Hilda. We're going to give the space and the context to all these teams that are next to us, consultants, engineers, and professionals. I don't want to keep mentioning the level of people writing on. José del Carmen Briseño from Mexico. We got a message from CEO of Engineering Services in Mexico, Ricardo Flores. He's writing us all the way from Chile as well. From different countries, Daniel Salgan, from the Latin American Society of Maritime Operators is present, from Peru, Maritime Operations Director, also the leader of Energy and Operations Strategics, Alex Santamaria. We also got someone writing us from Latin America. It doesn't say it exactly, but we're getting a number of participations, large number of people who I'm inviting to raise their questions so we can share to the speakers. And I like very much this following stage. Get a large number of questions we are gonna get, but we give the benefit to the public. So for José Ramón Iribarren, which are the criteria to develop this type of study on terminals? Is this a private initiative by operators? Is it a requirement of the authority or an international regulation? It says he's having some problems with connectivity. Please repeat the question. Which are the criteria for developing this type of study on the terminals? Is that a private initiative of the operator? Is it a requirement of the authority, or is led by an international regulation? The speaker says, let's say there are two aspects to consider in this. One side, the relevance it has of the actual infrastructure. But implementing this is necessary when the infrastructure is has higher importance. Also, when there's a consequence like having an accident or an incident, if there's a failure, there we're talking about consequences like personal injuries, equipment damages, economical, financial damages, and reputation damages. The larger the damage an incident by a fault may create on the design of the structure, the more important is to apply these criteria. For instance, we're talking about hazardous material, chemical products, hydrocarbons, gas. It becomes more relevant. On the other hand, on the initiative of this risk analysis for the corresponding approval, those that work as us, international level, what we found out that there are different standards and different regions in the world, and different companies on different sectors. In many instances, the operators, they've got their own requirements to achieve quality level assurance, very extreme, very stringent requirements, especially speaking about energy
En otros
sections.
casos, el
In other
requisito es
cases,
que
the
la autoridad
requirement
política
comes from the
nacional
National
o
Maritime
regional que corresponda, ya
Agency,
digo, tiene baremos más o
then
menos variables según en qué parte del
that may
mundo
vary depending
nos
on the type of
estemos
part of the
moviendo.
world we're talking
Y en
about.
otros casos,
And
bueno,
in
pues hay
some of
una
the cases, there are some
normativa
international
aplicable
applicable
que va desde
regulations that
la
go all the way from
clasificación de los buques,
vessels
certificación,
classifications,
instalaciones de
certification of
emisión,
industrial
en fin,
facilities,
sí que
etc.
hay cierta
So
variabilidad,
there's a
pero lo que
range
sí se
with
ve es una
among them,
tendencia
but we can see it's
progresiva
a
a
progressive
elevar los
trend to bring
estándares
the
de
standards
seguridad y a
forward
extender
and
cada vez más
extend them
estos,
all the way
digamos,
to
criterios de
the
análisis de
risk
riesgo
analysis
y de establecimiento de
criteria and
procedimientos en
establishment
beneficio del
of
diseño.
requirements from the beginning of the
Todas las tres
design.
presentaciones
During all
vemos
these three
la
presentations,
estrategia enfocada
the
en la
strategy
seguridad para
focused on
generar
safety
eficiencia
in order
en
to
la búsqueda
create
de ahorros de
efficiency,
tiempo y dinero.
looking forward to for
De
savings
cierta
on
manera,
time and money.
en las tres presentaciones,
On
yo puedo
among the three other
permear este
presentations,
tipo de,
I was able to
de
find
punto común.
this common ground.
Para Rafael
Now,
Rengifo, me
for
llega esta
Rafael
pregunta.
Rengifo,
¿Cómo la
there's a question.
optimización
How
en el programa de
optimization
integridad de
on
tanques
the
apoya
tanks
la descarbonización?
support decarbonization? On the tanks
Excelente
program
pregunta.
supports
Esto,
decarbonization? That's
yo
an
voy a
excellent
compartir una
question.
experiencia
I'm going to share an
que
experience I've got
me
on
lleva
this
en lo
topic.
personal,
This brings me on
como profesional en el área de
to a
tanques y en nuestra
personal
compañía que
experience
hacemos mucho
in the
trabajo
tank
alrededor de la
company that
integridad
we
de
work.
tanque.
We
Ha
work a
sido
lot on
esto un
vessels
elemento
integrity.
para
This
apoyar
is
descarbonización.
an element to support
Las
decarbonization.
emisiones que
The
genera sacar un
emissions
tanque fuera de
created
servicio
by
para
taking a tank
inspección y
out of service for
mantenimiento
inspection or maintenance
son
are
significativas en
significant
términos de que un programa de
to the
inspección de
level
tanques en un
that by the end of
terminal
the inspection of a tank in
tenga
a
varios
terminal,
tanques fuera de servicio en un año,
by having a number
excede
of vessels, a number of
la
tanks
cantidad de
out of
emisiones
service,
que tiene el
that is
terminal.
going to exceed
Entonces,
the volume of emissions that the
ese es un
terminal has
componente
itself.
de emisión
And that's
por el propio
a
hidrocarburo que estaba
contribution on
almacenado.
emissions due to the
Pero
hydrocarbons
también
being stored.
están
On the other hand,
cosas que tienen
we
que ver ya
have
con
things that have to do
la
with
preparación del tanque para la
preparation
inspección.
of the tank
Toda
for
la
the
maquinaria
inspection, the
necesaria para
entire
limpiar
machinery
el tanque,
required for the cleanup of
equipos
the tank,
motorizados,
like motors,
todo
um, things
las
like
emisiones que generan
every
los
emission, every
volátiles de los
volume of emission
revestimientos.
created by the volatile products.
Volver a
Then
revestar un tanque externamente
painting
o
back
a
the
colocarle un nuevo
tank
revestimiento internamente
on the
genera una gran
outside
cantidad de
and
emisiones
putting
por los
coatings on
volátiles del
it, it creates a
revestimiento.
lot of emissions
Yo
related to the
quiero compartir
volatile
con la
products.
audiencia la
I want to
experiencia en
share
la
with the
cual
audience the experience I've
en un
got
terminal aquí en Estados
in a
Unidos
terminal
hemos
in the US.
excedido
We
ya
have exceeded
las
the
emisiones
level of
permitidas
allowed emissions.
y hubo que
So we had
hablar
to
con los entes
talk to the
reguladores y
regulation
decir, bueno,
bodies and
esta
agencies and
agencia
tell
me
them
está diciendo que he
the
excedido
agency is telling me that I have exceeded
las,
the
las cantidades de
the
emisiones,
level
pero por otra parte
allowed.
hay otra agencia que
But
me está
on the other
diciendo que tengo
hand,
que
there's
seguir
an
sacando
agency that
tanques fuera
lets
de
me that I have
servicio.
to continue keep up
Esto,
bringing tanks out of
tuvimos que
service.
comenzar a
So we
buscar
had
maneras
to
de manejar
find a way to
situaciones como,
work this
bueno,
around,
no
handle this
podemos aplicar más
situation that
revestimiento en
we
este
cannot
momento porque no
continue
podemos
applying
seguir generando más
coatings because we
emisiones a la
cannot
atmósfera
create further
por
and
los
further
revestimientos.
emission
Con esto lo
due
que
to
quiero decir
applying
es
the
que
coating on
hay
on the
tres
tanks. So
importantes
I want to
fuentes
say that there
de
are three
emisiones cuando
main
se
sources
saca
of
un tanque fuera de
emissions
servicio.
when we take a tank out of
El
service.
producto que estaba almacenado
One
encima,
is
donde hay
the
que
product
sacarlo de
stored
ese tanque,
inside the tank that we
movilizarlo.
have to mobilize,
Los equipos
put
motorizados
it
que
out,
son necesarios para limpiar,
the
adecuar y
equipment that we
arreglar
need
el
to
tanque.
mobilize and
Las
repair the
emisiones que
tank. Also,
generan los
emissions created by
revestimientos
applying the
volátiles que tienen los
coatings,
revestimientos que se
volatile
están
products,
curando y aplicando.
as we are applying
Entonces,
them and
si
we
se
get them
pueden
curing.
espaciar
If we can
los
spread in
eventos
time
de inspección
inspection
interna de
events,
tanques con ciertos
internals,
protocolos
by using
aprobados
approved
en la
protocols
industria,
in the
como
industry
es
as
la
such,
inspección basada en
like
riesgo, el
RBA,
servicio
risk-based
similar,
inspection for similar
inspecciones no
services,
intrusivas,
non-intrusive
inspecciones
inspections like
robóticas,
robotics
todo
inspections,
este
all
tipo
these type
de
of
protocolos y
protocols
tecnología pueden
involving
ayudar a reducir
technologies
el número
may
de
help us to
eventos de
reduce the
sacar
number
un
of events
tanque
of
fuera de
bringing
servicio y por lo
tanks out of
tanto a
service,
reducir
reducing
significativamente
by doing
las
this
emisiones.
significantly the emissions.
Rafael,
Rafael,
quiero
I
agradecer
want to thank
de verdad la
very much.
participación y voy a leer un
And I'm going to be
comentario,
reading
por
one
favor, para
comment
alguno de los tres.
for one of the
Argenis
two of you three.
Rodríguez.
Argenis Rodriguez.
Estoy interesado en
I'm very
contactar
interested
un
in contacting
representante
one
de ventas de
representative,
monoboyes
sales
y
representative,
navejeras.
monoboys,
Así
and
que, por favor,
hoses.
cualquiera de los
So,
tres que
any
tenga
of you
algún tipo de
three that you
vinculación,
have any link to
su
this,
solicitud está en la
this
cuenta
is
@Inspenet.
raised
El link
on
es
the
acaba de
arroba
llegar.
Inspenet
También aprovecho para
LinkedIn.
saludar
I send salutations to Julio Fernando Rubio, Director of the Maritime Operations in Peru, Fernando Orellana from Chile, and some other people that are with us. The Chief of Facilities on GDRF, Peru, Christian Enrique Guerrero. Thank you, everyone, for participating. These type of contributions are the initiatives that we're looking forward. We try to promote and get to connect the entire community. That is one of the purposes of Inspenet, be able to connect and create common ground for matching points. Gonzalo, I have a couple of questions for you. Where can we see the biggest benefits by the implementation of marine assurance activities within the terminal?
Bueno,
The speaker
buena pregunta.
answers. That's a good
En realidad
question.
los beneficios
In fact,
múltiples.
benefits are
Me viene
a
a la
range of
cabeza un
them.
poco también
Comes to my
alineado con el
mind,
mensaje que da Rafael, que me parece
thinking of
sumamente
Rafael's
significativo,
messages,
porque
I
la
believe is
industria
really significant
4.0
because
no habla
Industry
solamente
4.0
de la
talks about
aplicación de
the
tecnología, sino que
implementation of
también
technology,
habla
but also
de las nuevas
new
energías, ¿no?
energy
Cada
that are coming
evolución de
up,
la
the
industria, de la 1.0,
industry evolving into 3,
etcétera,
2.0,
y lo que
3.0, or
cambia también en
4.0. So
el
there's a
modelo
change
energético
in the energy model
que usaron las
that has
industrias y
been in
ahora
use
nuestro
for a
modelo
number of years, and
energético
now the energy
justamente
models are becoming more
descarbonización.
into a
Hay
decarbonization.
múltiples
There's a number of
iniciativas
initiatives
a nivel global respecto de
worldwide
la reducción
with
de
regards
emisiones
to
en el transporte
emission reduction in
marítimo,
maritime
y en esa
transportation.
reducción de emisiones
And
los
in
terminales
that
juegan
emission
un
reduction,
rol
terminals play a significant
fundamental.
role,
Por
a
ejemplo, si
fundamental
yo
role.
pudiera
For instance,
hacer
if
un
I
monitoreo
could
punta a punta del estado de
make
congestión
a
de cada uno de los
point-to-point or
terminales,
edge-to-edge
sé que
monitoring of the
el terminal
terminals,
de destino
and I get to
está
know that the destination terminal is
congestionado, el
congested
buque
or
no tendría
packed up,
necesidad de navegar a
so
toda
the
máquina,
vessel doesn't have to
no solo
sail
consumiendo
full
más, lo que
speed.
implica mayores costos, sino también emitiendo más, lo que
So
significa
they will be
un mayor
saving
impacto
para
el medio
fuel,
ambiente.
and
Entonces,
that would represent a
la
less impact into the
gestión
environment. So
inteligente
the
del
smart
terminal desde el punto de
stewardship or
vista de
managing the
conocer los
resources
datos,
by
contar
knowing the
con la
data in a timely
colaboración de las
manner, have the
distintas
collaboration
partes
through
para
different
poder
parts,
brindar esa información y
be
que
able
se
to provide this
produzca dentro
information,
de la
and
cadena de
this to be
suministro.
created
Esa
within the
eficiencia
supply chain.
es
Such
fundamental.
efficiency is
Luego, dentro de lo
key
que
to
implica la
achieve.
propia
Now,
operación del
speaking about
terminal,
the
tiene un montón
actual
de
operation
factores
of the terminal, it
asociados.
has
Uno
with
lo
a
que
bunch
menciona
of
es
number of
que esa
aspects
terminal
related,
está
like we have the
trabajando de
things
forma
like
conjunta con la
working together with the
refinería,
refinery,
bueno,
for
todo lo que
instance,
tiene que ver
and
con el permitir
everything that has to
que los
do with allow
procesos
that
de
the
la refinería
processes on
no
the
se vean
refinery do not
afectados.
get any impact.
Si esa
And if
terminal
such
es una terminal
terminal
de
is
suministro
a
en un
supply
área que
terminal located
está
in an area
retirada,
that
o
is
sea, que se
isolated,
encuentra
like
alejada
is far away
de otros lugares, en Argentina
from
tenemos, por
places.
ejemplo,
In Argentina, we have
toda la
some
región
areas on the
patagónica que
Patagonia
se
area
suple
that get
principalmente
supplied
de
by
combustible a
basically
través
by
de los
fuel
medios
through
marítimos.
maritime
Bueno,
pathways.
si tengo
So
una
if we
efectiva
do
gestión de las
have this
terminales, puedo
effective
también ganar
stewardship of the
eficiencias y
terminals, we can
garantizar que
achieve efficiencies
esos
and
centros de
guarantee that such
distribución
distribution
cuenten con
centers
stocks
get to
según
proper
las
stocks according to
necesidades
the
y
needs,
puedan realizar de
providing
forma mucho más
thus
amigable
more
toda
friendly
la gestión logística.
managing of the logistics.
Si me permites
If you
un
allow me an
comentario
additional
para
comment
quien preguntaba sobre
to
motorboyas y
who was asking
mangueras,
about motor
tenemos
boys and
ahora
hoses,
vamos a
we
tener
are going to
las
have
jornadas,
our
como también comentaban ustedes, del
rounds
27 al 29
of
de
participation
septiembre en
in
Río de Janeiro,
September
donde
27,
nos van a
29 in
acompañar
Rio de Janeiro,
muchas
where we're going to
compañías
have
que
a
se
dedican
dedican
companies
a
participating
la
there.
producción de
We are,
motorboyas y
which are
mangueras, así
involved
que
to
no
the
hay duda.
production of motorboys and hoses. So please be invited. Now, Gustavo, we're getting from the internal messaging from Inspenet. Based on your experience, this is addressed to you. Based on your experience from developing, vetting, a renowned vetting team from scratch, from zero, what would you recommend for a company that desires to start developing vetting and marine assurance activities?
Bueno, pero
Well,
lo primero es
first of
intentar
all,
aliarse
start
con
by trying to
personas, con
get
empresas que
an
tengan
alliance or a
experiencia
relationship with
en
people
particular.
or companies that have
Son
experience.
disciplinas muy
These are very
complejas
complex
donde hay que
disciplines
desarrollar análisis
that
de
requires
riesgos
a specific
específicos
risk analysis to be
para los
developed
perfiles portfolios de
all the
riesgo que
different
podemos
ranges of
presentar a la
profiles
compañía.
of risks that the company may be
Hablo
facing.
perfiles y portfolio de
I
riesgo
speaking like
marítimos,
maritime risks,
conocer y calibrar
get to know
esos
and
perfiles y porfolios de riesgo
calibrate those
contra
risk
criterios
portfolio
que
against
luego
the criteria
permitan
that will later allow to
tomar las decisiones que se
make the
tienen
proper
que tomar de
decisions
forma
in a
inteligente,
smart way, a
precisa
very
y
accurate way, and
efectiva
effective
respecto a
with
costos.
regards to cost.
Es una situación
This is
compleja.
one
Al
complex
equipo que
aspect to
lideré
handle.
nos tocó
The,
desarrollarlo
the
de ceros
team
y si
I was
tuviera que empezar de nuevo
leading,
me
we needed
gustaría
to
contar con
start,
alguien
we
que
had to
me
start from
brinde de
scratch.
soporte.
If I had to do
También
this
aparte de la
again, I would like to have
tecnología
support from the beginning.
existente hoy
Also,
para
the
todo lo que
present
tiene que ver
technology
con
nowadays is
la-
very,
los procesos
very
digitales de
related
venting
to the
y el
venting
punta a punta donde se puede
principles
a través de
and
sistemas
the edge-to-edge
hacer un análisis del terminal
analysis of the
o los
terminal
terminales,
or,
el o los
or
buques
related terminals,
que se
the
utilicen
number of vessels to be
y otras
used,
facilidades como pueden
also
ser
being able to
facilidades
analyze
offshore,
the
barcazas y
facilities like
remolcadores que
offshore,
facilitan mucho el
things like
trabajo, no solo
tugboats.
en cuanto a la
That
recopilación y
eases the work a lot, not
procesamiento
only
de
to
datos, sino
processing and
también
collecting
a
the
la
data, but
posibilidad de
also the
verificar
possibility
y
to
hacer un
verify
benchmarking mucho más
and has a
efectivo
more
de
effective benchmarking
esa decisión que se está
for the
tomando.
proper decision-making
Les recuerdo que
process.
estamos
Let me
en la
remind
parte
you that
final de
we're
este panel
approaching to
de
the very end of
discusión,
this discussion
Industria
panel on the
4.0,
Industry
tendencias
4.0,
y nuevas
trends and new
tecnologías
technologies
aplicadas en
applicable
terminales
to
marítimos
maritime
y
terminals and
fluviales.
fluvials.
José
So,
Ramón,
Jose
una
Ramon,
pregunta para
question
ti.
for you.
¿Son receptivos los
Are the
operadores
operators
a este tipo de
receptive to this
análisis
type
de
of
riesgo
risk
que tú
analysis, what
planteas?
you're addressing?
Y si aplican
And
de
if
forma
applicable,
generalizada.
do they get to be applied
No
in
sé
a
si
general
José
manner?
Ramón nos logra
I wonder
ver.
if we got to Jose Ramon.
Creo que tiene problemas de conexión.
There seems to be a little
José
connection
Ramón,
problems. Are you
hemos
there?
perdido la conexión con José Ramón. Y voy a pasar a
We've
una
lost the
siguiente
connection.
pregunta
I'm going to
rápidamente.
skip the next question
¿Considera
quickly.
Becht la captura de
Does
carbono
Becht
CO2
considers
como
CO2 carbon
alternativa a la
capture
descarbonización?
as an alternative to decarbonization?
Rafael.
Esa es muy
Well,
importante porque
that's a
sabe
very
que
good
hoy
one
no hablamos de
because
eso
we
producto de
didn't
que
talk about this one
mayormente
today
estábamos
because
enfocados
we
en
were
el
mainly
tema
focused on liquids, right?
a nivel de terminales. Sin
Speaking on
embargo,
terminals.
muchos de
However,
nuestros clientes en el
many
área
of
de
our
upstream
customers on
y
the
midstream,
upstream and
ese es el foco.
midstream, that is the main
El foco
focus.
es la captura,
The focus
¿verdad?
is the
De
capture
CO2.
of
Entonces,
CO2.
allí hay una parte
So
interesante que
that's a
estamos
very
desarrollando igual.
interesting
Hay una
piece
serie
of
de
work that
cambios
we're
que
developing.
nosotros
There are a
como
number of
sistema,
changes that the systems need
más
to
que todo
face,
de tuberías de
basically more
recolección,
related to
pipelines,
gathering
estaciones de bombeo,
pipelines, pumping
y allí nos
stations.
hemos
So
encontrado
there we
con
have found
una
a
serie de
number of
retos
challenges
que
to
nos están
overcome
llevando inclusive
that are
a
taking us to
escribir un
even
nuevo
get to
capítulo
write
a
an
nivel de
entire
integridad
new
mecánica,
chapter on this mechanical
que es lo que
integrity aspect,
llamamos
what we
ventanas de
call
integridad, de
integrity
operación o de
windows on
confiabilidad
operation and
para
reliability for
pipelines que
pipelines,
ahora tienen que ser
which
adecuados a
now need to
manejar
be adapted to
CO2, tienen
handle
que ser
CO2.
adecuados
Now
a
they should be
manejar
capable of
algunos de
handling
ellos hidrógeno,
sometime
mezclas
hydrogen,
de gas natural con
mixtures
hidrógeno,
of natural gas with
y todo
hydrogen,
esto está
and
llevando
all
a
this is
tener que
taking to the need to
reevaluar
reassess
mecanismos
the
de
entire
degradación. Esto es algo
degradation
que por
mechanism.
muchos años
For a
nuestros
number of
sistemas
years,
de
our systems
pipelines y
on
sistemas de
pipelines
gathering
and
a
gathering
nivel de
systems
upstream
at the
han sido
upstream
estables,
have been stable.
un poco más de contaminantes a
A little bit
veces
more
como
of
H2S o un
contaminants
poco más
like
de químicos para
H2S,
prevenir la
some
corrosión,
more
pero cuando
chemicals to
estamos
prevent
hablando de
corrosion from
CO2,
that.
estamos
But
hablando
when
de
we're talking about
hidrógeno,
CO2 and hydrogen,
es otra cosa.
that's a different story.
No solamente por
So
la
not
probabilidad
only
de
because the
falla, pero también
probability of
por las
failure,
consecuencias,
but the
porque la fuga
consequences.
de hidrógeno
A leak of hydrogen,
es un material
that's a
mucho más
very
volátil, que expande
volatile
mucho
product
más
that
rápido,
expands really quick,
y todas esas son nuevas
a lot
consideraciones.
quicker, and
Pero no lo cubrimos
that
hoy
requires
en
different
esta
consideration. Now, we
conversación
didn't
porque nos
cover this
enfocamos
today
fue en la
because we
parte
were
de
focused
nuevas alternativas
today
en
on
el área
new
líquida. Pero
energies,
hay
new
todo
alternatives
un
on liquid
desarrollo
area, but there's a
y un
whole
montón de
new
trabajo que estamos
development
haciendo actualmente
and a
en
lot
el
of
área de
work that we're
gas,
doing on the gas phase
CO2 e
using
hidrógeno.
CO2 and hydrogen. Yep.
El tiempo en televisión
Well,
y este tipo de
time on
eventos
TV and these type of
es
events is
corto.
short.
Quisiéramos
We would
extenderlo
like to
más este
continue
panel,
this panel furthermore, but there's a number of questions we're going to be raising that. I wonder if Jose Ramon was able to reconnect, because I want to move now to the final conclusions about the topics that we talked about in this panel. Did we get Jose Ramon back? I believe we've lost connection entirely with Jose Ramon Iribarren. I want to thank to the effort and time given. He was with us all the way from Madrid to be part of this discussion panel. Gonzalo, Mera, Truffini. Gonzalo, what would be the conclusions so we can start adjourning this discussion panel from your point of view? One of the conclusions that I can bump into by connecting the round of presentations that we've heard and be able to share, and this during the life cycle of a terminal, from the start, from creation or reconversion from terminals to work with products, with the new energies, or the new means of energy, sources of energy, all the way to modeling, to the point of modeling operational capabilities of the terminal and the operation itself, as are the asset itself on production. There's a large number of opportunities for the utilization of energies. Such use of and implementation of energies has to do with being a lot more efficient. And efficiency, personally, I think, always promotes more safety and more sustainability. If a vessel gets to be loaded faster, the level of exposure to the terminal compared to the risk on the ships get to be reduced by reducing the time staying at the port. If the vessels get to be operated in a more efficient way, meaning that they stay for shorter period of time and less time sailing, that means less congestion, less number of vessels on a waiting line, means less vessels represent less pollution, lesser cost. All the cost is always a driven aspect to the final consumer, which are all of us. So basically, I believe that we are at the stage in a moment in time where efficiency is going to trigger and promote things that I believe we haven't thought about yet. Excellent, Gonzalo. Excellent conclusion, Rafael. Please. When I began talking on my participation, I was taking a wide Becht and emphasis we got on strategic improvements. Strategic improvement is expected by everyone, terminal operators that want to have them, and this strategic improvement always starts on simulations. In order to make a decision whether is that the path to follow, such simulations are assessed by marketing groups, operational groups. Problem relies on simulation requires a feed source, and the input becomes from the data. Therefore, such data is not only available, but they're not always interlinked with all the variables that should be taken in consideration on the simulation. So this has to do a lot by doing this 4.0 means we begin involving to the availability and get all those data in line, be able to provide feeding data that allow us to make decisions on a strategic approach. All these transition has to do with improvement. The cost of taking one pathway or another with regards to incorporating a new type of raw material for biofuel or renewable fuel, or by incorporating storage for a new refined product, it's a decision that has to do with a strategic improvement and has to be driven by a good foundation. So most of what we talk about here, there's a purpose. Of course, we have a purpose of decarbonization and the transition, but there's a need that the simulations there's a need that the data gets to be truly reliable and representative so we can then make decisions. That's one aspect that we've been talking on different points of view, efficiency, safety, and operations, in order to be able to support the transition.
Gracias, Rafael.
Thank you, Rafael.
José Ramón
José
Iribarren,
Ramon
gracias por el
Iribarren,
esfuerzo.
thank you
Sé
for
que
the
están
effort coming
luchando
back.
con la conexión
We understand
desde
we've
la
been
señal
struggling
de
with the
internet.
internet
¿Cuáles serían
connection.
tus conclusiones,
Which will be
José
your
Ramón?
conclusions,
Ya para cerrar.
please, just to adjourn?
Tienes el
We lost him. We're not hearing
ahora
that.
sí.
Sí, a ver si conseguimos tener un poquito
Let's
de
see if
continuidad.
we
No sé qué
can
pasa con mi señal.
we can participate
Todo
in
bien.
a
Sí, quizá por
fluent manner.
intentar llegar a una conclusión
Trying to
integrada
achieve to an overall conclusions from the different presentations today. I believe technology is here. Technology has an incredible level of power. Technology plus power is going to give us an humongous benefits to the entire industry, in this case for the port industry. Such benefits are going to be in line to the economy, efficiency, safety, and sustainability. We've been covering about all these aspects, but technology itself doesn't work. Technology requires people, capable people, people that make decisions that are motivated in order to use it properly, people that are trained, properly trained. And I have a reference I can give you, like there's a ship, shipping. There's a law of 3C. The first one is coaction, and second is convenience, is because I get a financial benefit. I move forward on this progress because I have something to quantify. And last C is commitment, social commitment. Companies are interested in improving efficiency, their performance, and financial results, as well as the status of their workers. Speaking of the in terms of labor conditions, health conditions. So I believe that's the entire motivation behind that drives us into this. And I appreciate very much to the colleagues by participating and the very, very good matching in between the three of us. I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased, the host says, because at the end, we're talking about trends, technology, advances based on their own experiences. You're not talking about history that you were told. When we talk about Marine Assurance 2.0, we were not saying this like getting a story out of nowhere. When you're talking to us on how technology is being used, the ideas going forward started from the knowledge and the actual needs. You're not telling just stories. When Rafael is sharing us opportunities and being more efficient and how to achieve the actual situation, the current world, and how to be on time, how to be able to contribute. This is not a story he's making up. They are sharing experiences, true stories, and high value. And that I want to appreciate. I believe that a panel of discussion which is being represented by real life participants, that they have made decisions on current projects. They come here and share their own stories. But not any story, but the stories that they have been through, and that's a 4.0. When we talk about the industry 4.0, we're talking about the technological development, trends, and new technologies applied for the maritime and fluvial facilities, based on the needs, based on the new world requirements, based on the present. And here you are, willing to share. And I want to say thanks as a CEO from Inspenet. I'm very pleased and very proud of your attendance. I want to appreciate also to all the people attending, all the people writing on the private connections, speaking within the Inspenet.com network that been with us on the two channels, because we've been broadcasting in two versions, Spanish and English, for the two communities.
también una
We
transmisión
also
a
got
nuestra
transmission
comunidad
on the
en
community on
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn,
Inspenet contamos con la
where
presencia de
we have
nuestra
the attendance
maravillosa
of our
directora
marvelous
de marketing,
marketing
que sobre ella
director.
recae la
On her
planificación
shoulders, the
estratégica de
strategic
todos estos
planning of these
eventos.
events
¿Qué
relies.
podemos decir,
So,
Hilda,
what
ya
else
para
can we
ir
say,
cerrando
Hilda,
este
to
grandioso
adjourn
panel de
this
discusión?
marvelous discussion panel?
Mira, Francesco, a ver, esto
New
es un
speaker.
trabajo en equipo.
This is a
En
teamwork.
Inspenet creemos en
In
el poder de
Inspenet,
la
we believe
co-creación
in the
y realmente me
co-creation
llena de mucha emoción ver que estas
power.
iniciativas
And I'm very
que se
excited
hacen
to
con
see that
tantas
this
cosas
initiative that
importantes,
involves
vamos
many
a unir
important
un
pieces.
Francesco, pero realmente detrás de nosotros dos hay un
Francesco
equipo de
is one of
personas
them, but behind
ahorita
of
en
us there's a
producción, en
number of
muchas
people,
partes del mundo,
production
están
people in
garantizando
many
que
parts of
ustedes
the
vivan
world,
experiencias como
guaranteeing that
esta.
you get to
Estamos muy
experience this.
emocionados
We're
porque
very
estamos
excited
creciendo.
because we're
Ustedes
growing.
han sido parte de ese
You've
crecimiento en
been
nuestra
part of
comunidad
this
digital
growing
y
stage in the
estamos
digital
trabajando
community. We're
muchísimo en
working
proyectos,
hard
uno para
on
cerrar con broche de oro
projects
hacia
one in order
2023 y
to
otro para
adjourn
poder proyectarnos hacia el
2023 and
2024
another
y
one for
2024.
2024.
Pronto, y quiero, no sé
Soon,
si me permites
and I
darte
believe you want to give
un pequeño
a
adelanto para que
small
tú lo puedas
advance
apoyar,
Dale, usted
de un
manda,
that
directora.
a
un
launch,
lanzamiento interesante que
an
vamos a
interesting
realizar en
launch
nuestra
that we're going to
sección
be
de
doing
e-learning,
on the
donde tenemos
e-learning,
detrás
where
de
we
este
have
equipo a
behind the team
profesionales que han
professionals
trabajado en unos
working
diplomados
on
especializados en temas de
having
industria.
training and
No
courses
quiero
in the
dar
industry.
información de más, pero
I don't
quiero
want to
invitarlos
give
a que estén pendientes a que vamos
information
a estar compartiendo recursos descargables para nuestra comunidad, para
as,
aquellas
as much.
personas
We're
que
going to
nos
be
siguen en redes
sharing
sociales
resources
y vamos a
on the
estar dando
social
un valor
networks.
extra,
We're going to
VIP
be giving a
exclusivo para ti
VIP
que eres parte de
added
Inspenet
value for
Project.
you that are
Así que si
part
quieres
and a
disfrutar de
member
esos
of Inspenet,
descargables,
and
de
you
esos
want to enjoy
recursos, de
the
ver información
download
detallada de ese
links and
diplomado
resources
y de encuentros
and the
como este, quiero
courses
invitarte a que
available.
apenas
I
termine
want
la
to invite you
conversación,
that
todavía no te vayas,
once we
visites
finish this,
inspenet.com,
visit us on
te registres y aún
inspenet.com,
no formas parte de nuestra
log
comunidad porque
in,
vamos a estar compartiendo información de
subscribe.
muchísimo valor que estoy
We're going to be sharing
segurísima
high
que te va a
value
interesar y te
information.
va a
I'm pretty
permitir
sure it's
mantenerte
going to be very
conectado.
interesting for you. It's going to keep you
Muy
connected.
bien, Hilda. Y ya para
Thank you
cerrar,
very much,
quiero
Hilda.
anunciar
Lastly, I
que
want
el
to
próximo panel lo hemos
share that the next
denominado
panel is to
Tecnologías
be called
disponibles en
Available
oil and gas y
Technologies
será el
on Oil
6
and
de
Gas. And it's
septiembre
going to
de
happen
este
on
año
September 6th
cuando
this
estaremos
year,
haciendo una nueva
when we're going to
transmisión
coming back
especial
with a
y un
new
nuevo panel. Yo les
panel.
recuerdo que cuando creamos Inspenet
I remind
buscamos
you that when we
unir a un
created
desarrollo
Inspenet,
de
we were trying to
profesionales,
get together
consultores y
this
empresas
network
que circulan en el
of
mundo
specialists
energético, en el sector energético, y queremos
on
ser una
the
opción
energy
en ese
industry.
proyecto de
So we
día
want
a
to
día,
become
en esa
an option on a day-to-day
articulación de
working
conocer
shoulder to
qué
shoulder
ocurre
and get to
en
know
otras
what
partes
is
del
happening in some
planeta,
other parts
qué
of the
está
world,
haciendo mi colega, qué me
what my
propone
peer is
esta
doing in
empresa
the other
y
part of the
cómo puedo
world,
ser más
what they are
eficiente, más
proposing, how
efectivo
to become
y
more
mantener
efficient
vigencia
and
en cada
remain
decisión que llevo adelante
at the
en
edge of
términos
the earth.
económicos, en términos
How,
profesionales y en términos de
how we
crecimiento,
can stay in
incluso
front of the
dentro de
line in
organizaciones
financial
importantes. Esto y
realization.
mucho más lo logramos
This and a
simplemente
lot
porque
more we can
actores
achieve
como
simply because
Rafael Rengifo,
the
José Ramón
stakeholders like
Iribarren
Rafael
y
Rengifo,
Gonzalo
José
Mera
Ramón Iribarren,
Truffini
and
han
José Romano,
aceptado invitaciones como
they have
esta y
accepted
han
invitations
dispuesto
like
su tiempo
this,
para
and they
compartir su
have collaborated with
conocimiento.
their
No
time and
olviden,
sharing their
solo
knowledge.
en Inspenet
Never forget,
nosotros
only in
logramos que el
Inspenet we
conocimiento
achieve
de
that knowledge
unos
of
se
ones
transforme
become
en la fortaleza de ustedes.
everyone's
Muchas gracias por esta gran oportunidad.
strength. Thank
Gracias
you very
a
much for
todos
this
los que nos
effort,
acompañaron
this
desde los
opportunity. Thank you very
distintos
much for all,
lugares de
everyone
residencia.
from the different
Gracias,
points of the
Gonzalo.
world. Thank you,
Gracias,
Gonzalo. Thank
Rafael.
you, Rafael.
Gracias, José
Thank
Ramón.
you, José
Gracias,
Ramon. Thank
Hilda.
you, Hilda.
Gracias, Becht.
Thank you,
Gracias,
Becht,
Slom.
Sloan.
Gracias, Ilta.
Thank you, Hilda.
Gracias, Miss Marín.
Thank you to Miss
Y
Marine.
gracias al público que
And
nos
thank
ha
to other public that
acompañado
has been
y
with
ha
us
permitido
and has made
sentir
possible
esta sensación
to get
de darle
this
sentido,
perception of
sentido
giving
técnico, sentido de
sense,
compartir
giving a
conocimientos y experiencias para
technical
ustedes. No se olviden,
focus on
somos
this.
Inspenet,
Don't
somos
forget it,
esa
we are
plataforma
Inspenet. We're the
tecnológica que
technological
buscamos
platform that we're
compartir
looking forward to
conocimiento.
share
Queremos que te
knowledge. We
conviertas
want you
cada
to
día en un
become
profesional
in a
más
professional,
fuerte, más
a
preparado,
lot more
listo para
stronger,
enfrentar los retos. Un mundo
better
de
ready
cambios
to
tecnológicos,
face
un sector
a world
energético que
of
está
technology that
tras
is
la búsqueda
changing,
de
and we're
distintas
looking forward for
oportunidades. Es la
different
oportunidad
opportunities.
tuya de
This
estar
is
al
your
día
opportunity
de
to
cada hecho, de
be
cada cosa,
up to
para
date
que
in
esté
any fact,
conectado con
in any
nosotros.
aspect
Realmente nos
of
encontramos
this
muy
area.
emocionados
We
de
are
lo que
truly very
juntos
excited
podemos
of what is
lograr.
happening in our community. And this growth is for you. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you to the community. Thank you to the entire panel of discussions, to the entire team of Inspenet, Hilda, and each and every member that are part of this incredible company that we can call inspenet.com. See you the next time. Thank you, everyone. Don't forget, I'm Francesco Solari. You can follow us in our social network, @Inspenet, at LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok as well. We have an app for the youngers, and in Twitter as well. In every social network, you can find us. We are Inspenet. The platform you always wanted to have is a fact now. Join us.
Inspenet es la red de conexión profesional más dinámica del mundo y queremos compartir contigo nuestro avance y trayectoria en la comunidad global. Destacamos la información exclusiva del sector industria y nuevas energías con 1.500 noticias y en más de 350 artículos científicos y narrativos. También nuestra publicación digital Inspenet Brief le acerca con contenidos exclusivos a las operaciones, novedades y soluciones de las más grandes corporaciones y empresas dedicadas a la confiabilidad y gestión de activos. Más de 3.400 horas de producción audiovisual y 8.000 horas de transmisión online. Más de 290.000 visualizaciones donde has podido disfrutar de los programas Tech Talking, Conéctate y Aprende, R&M, Technological Trends, Perfiles de Integridad, Contacto Plural, ¿Sabías qué? Genial Ingenio e Inspenet News. Además de los webinars, masterclass y programas especiales con los referentes más importantes a nivel mundial de la energía. Hemos participado en los más importantes eventos de reconocimiento de la industria energética como The AM Annual Conference Expo 2022 y The Inspection and Mechanical Integrity Summit of American Petroleum Institute en San Antonio, Texas. La 17ª y 18ª jornada SLOMI al Congreso Naturgas 2022 en Cartagena de Indias, Colombia. ASNT 2022, The Annual Conference en Nashville, Tennessee, el segundo foro global de GNL con presencia virtual en Houston, Texas, INCORS en Villahermosa, México, y Annual Conference AMP 2023 en Denver, Colorado. Generamos a través de e-learning diplomados y cursos para fortalecer el conocimiento sobre el uso y la aplicación de los ensayos no destructivos, gestión de la calidad y la integridad de activos para el mejoramiento de los sistemas y procesos en la industria, principios de operación sistemática y estructurada OCE de plantas de proceso y optimización de la gestión de mantenimiento con la metodología LEAN. Desde Estados Unidos, Europa, Emiratos Árabes Unidos y América Latina se han registrado en nuestro portal recorriendo una página dinámica y fluida para interactuar en nuestras secciones y también en nuestro Business Directory, un espacio para conectar y proyectar empresas y dar a conocer productos, equipos y servicios que aportan beneficios y soluciones a este importante sector. Gracias a todas las organizaciones y corporaciones por contar con nosotros. Inspenet sigue proyectando lo que ha sido su visión desde el principio: ser la red de conocimiento y conexión profesional número 1 del mundo.
Descarga